It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul is in Mexico City. Richard's in Stavanger, Norway. We're going to talk about, don't say it out loud, Windows AI. You know, the C word. Paul will trigger, I'm telling you, he's going to trigger it over and over and over again. The emergency update for Windows 11. And I think a little bit of Xbox news. All that coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 955, recorded Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Chewy Indifference. Well, hey, how are you today? It's Windows Weekly time. Welcome, all you winners and you dozers. It's not an insult. It's just a play. Never mind. Paul Thurrott is here from Thurrott.com, joining us.
I was hoping you were going to explain it yet again.
No.
You know,
I'm not doing it.
The faux outrage that occurs.
Somebody was mad that I called them dozers.
Did you just call me Caucasian? Who do you think you are?
Are you not from the
you,
Caucasus
sir?
Mountains? I may be mistaken. There's Paul, the wag, the wit, the wisdom of Paul Thurrott, ready to go. Look at how handsome he is there. Look at that posing. That's blue steel, baby. Also with us, Richard Campbell. I think my overnight oats are going to my head.
I was going to say, they're a little fermented.
Yeah, Richard Campbell from runnasradio.com. He is in Stavanger, Norway.
Stavanger. Yeah.
Stavanger.
Yeah, proper Viking name.
Is it Viking headquarters there?
It's one of them. I was in Trondheim earlier this week, which is even more. That's where the great Olaf is buried. So.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But I've been doing the West Coast tour of Norway, doing different conferences.
Nice.
Yeah, It's been really a lot of fun. Lovely people. We've been having a good time. These regional shows. I think I've said this before. That's why I was down in South Africa. I love a little regional show.
Oh, yeah.
Just the local folks. You know, there were 4 English-speaking speakers at Trondheim.
Wow. Well, the Norwegians,
we sat at a table together.
They speak English quite well.
They do very well.
Yeah. So,
which is good because my Norwegian is terrible.
you look like I'm just guessing in a booth in a Norwegian pub called.
You're not
the
far off.
I don't know, called the Horn and Pig or something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I am up in the loft space of an old brewery called Tao. And this place had been making beer in the early 1800s, and they were bought by a large corporate buyer in the early 2000s who promptly shut it down and angered all of the locals. And but it got turned into an art center, and they're using it as a conference space. So
nice.
This is one of the rooms.
It's cozy.
There's a party going on downstairs, so they said I could have the loft space to myself, and that's where I am.
I think that was a Marvin Gaye song. There's a party going on downstairs.
It's absolutely
And
true.
I'm in the love space.
Yeah.
Anyway, good to see you both world travelers. It's really fun. And here I am.
You're hither and yon.
I haven't even left the house in 14 days. So
Yeah, but do you have 4 walls? That's the real question.
Well, in this room I do. I have a roof and 4 walls. If you go out to the main area, maybe not.
A little patch here.
There are stucco people here.
Well, that
Bearing-
means that
bearing
they're
their-
putting walls back together again. That's a good sign.
Yeah. They got their trowels.
Yeah.
I'm still heartbroken for you not going on the river trip.
I know. Well, 2027. It's on the books.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah.
I have my vouchers right here.
I'm usually not envious of other people's travel. I do plenty, but that trip, that's a special trip.
I know.
That's
I was
really
looking forward to it. Memphis and, just all the, I wanted to see Vicksburg. Anyway.
And from the water, right? Like where they were originally built.
Yeah, from the Big Muddy.
There you go.
Well, you travel a lot. Do you feel like this is business? Because my experience with business travel is, and I'm sure, Paul, you feel the same way, it's not really travel. It's more business than travel.
It's true. I mean, I try and put some fun in between. Like I've chained all these I'm doing 6 shows in 4 weeks, right?
Wow.
But I still have weekends here and there, so you get to have some fun. And I know a lot of people, so I'm going to be staying with some friends for the weekend, not just always in hotels. And it makes such a difference.
That helps.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, if you know people, the locals, and so forth, that is real travel. Then.
Yeah,
you're not. You're actually
You know, I don't have to do this many conferences. I do them because I get to hang with some
Isn't that
friends.
nice?
I could never do that. What you're doing, I don't know. Even my wife will tell people now. It's like, oh, you guys went to Hawaii. That must have been nice. And she's like, it was nice for me. I was hanging out by the pool all day. He was working like 13 hours a day. Like,
Yeah.
So it was a beautiful place, but I didn't really.
It's almost worse if it's a beautiful place and you have to.
Yeah, I never left the resort. You know, like we just went from room to room. I mean, it was whatever. But
Well, it's been drippy rain all day in Stavanger, so I'm not unhappy to be inside. And I got a chance to sit down with a bunch of university students, which is just, extra bonus.
Oh, that's
They're
really
happy
cool.
to chat, and you learn things talking to some 20-somethings about how they're approaching computing.
But no Norwegian whiskey on the agenda today.
No, we did have a Norwegian a year ago or so. We did the Halvardsen, and so I didn't really lock one down this time around. I am going to a party this weekend at a friend's place, and they have serious collection of old whiskey, and they have whiskeys. They literally said, when Richard's finally here, we're going to open this. And so there's like 3 or 4 bottles we're going to open.
Nice.
So I will have stories after that, but today's is, I won't call it a filler. It's been on the list to do for a while. It's a classic.
It's a classic. It's a big name.
It's a big name. You know it, and we're going to talk about it.
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a big name.
It does not need to buy a vowel. Let's be clear.
Paul Thurrott, let's talk Windows and Windows 11 specifically, and Windows 11 AI even more specifically.
yeah, so as I was writing this part of the notes, I was like, we talked about this last week. I kept checking the date. I was kind of confused by this, but I realized it was probably because they had announced some of this stuff through the Insider program ahead of time, right? And so some of the features that Microsoft kind of formally went out to the world with last week on Thursday were things like you and I and the people listening or watching this probably are like, oh, I've already heard of this stuff. I don't quite get it. But they had kind of a big virtual event on Thursday, the Windows/Copilot teams, about new AI features coming to Windows 11, but also a broader initiative to turn you're going to love these terms, guys. Windows into an agentic OS or an AI native OS.
All right. Now you're just making stuff up.
Yep. And I'm so sorry that those words just came out of my mouth. But they also very explicitly are seeking to redefine the term AI PC, which is something that Intel came up with. Possibly in partnership with Microsoft, actually, probably 2 years ago, for the Meteor Lake generation of Intel Core Ultra PCs, the first gen.
Right. Because the ones they only made one of, those ones?
Yes. And then they did it again with Lunar Lake, but yes. And 2 one-off designs. But I think they figured it out now. New one looks good. We'll see. But yeah, and then, of course, Microsoft 6 months later came out with Copilot Plus PC, and those were for PCs that had a NPU capable of 40 or more tops.
Right.
And as we've discussed...
And included ARM, obviously.
Yes, right. Out of the gate, it was only ARM, actually, and then eventually, Intel and ARM, AMD with their subsequent chipsets. So it's fair to say this stuff hasn't gone over great,
Well, I would also remind me that Microsoft had to walk the Intel guys out of build.
Yes. Yeah, they were going to crash it. Yeah. Not a bit. It was it was the event, the Copilot Plus PC event.
Copilot Plus PC event.
Yeah, they literally escorted them off. The Microsoft security escorted them off campus. They tried to crash it.
Wow. You can't be here.
It's like, listen, we get that your entire shtick is beating up on the rest of the industry, but you're going to have to take today off because that's not happening right now.
I'm struggling with you painting Microsoft as the good guys here, but okay.
I'm not sure I said that, but in this one case, yeah, it's like the, I don't know how to, I'm not sure what the comparison is here. What, one bad actor protected me from another bad actor, I guess for 2 seconds, they're the good guy.
But I bring that all up because, you're right. Intel had their AI PC concepts, which were obviously focused on their chips. Yep. And then Microsoft's Copilot Plus PC was initially just ARM, but is now an inclusive, friendly, it was known everybody can play.
It was always going to be for everybody, but in the beginning they had that, 6 months, maybe not even really, but Intel didn't like that. And Intel, when you're a bully, it's hard. It's like riding a bike, you don't, it's hard to stop doing the thing that always worked in the past, whatever. But Yeah. So look, Microsoft is not criticizing Copilot plus PC. Microsoft is also not addressing the fact that no major use case for an on-device MPU has ever emerged that would benefit some large population of people. There's obviously a million little features. But in discussing this new AI PC concept, this notion that Windows 11 or maybe some future Windows version will be infused with AI in and out. Yusuf Mehdi, who's been around, honestly, longer than I have in some ways. But
long time.
Yeah, I mean, I first met him in 98 at the Windows NT 5.0 Reviewers Workshop, to put that in perspective. But he had been there for several years by that point. Also, doesn't appear to be aging, which is vaguely irritating. He's unfortunately multiple times, both in this presentation they gave and then in interviews and things, has described this effort as Microsoft rewriting Windows from the ground up. That should always cause a little bit of like, oh, I don't think that's what's happening.
Yeah, pretty sure. That seems very unlikely.
Yeah, I wish they would walk away from that kind of language. But anyway, but their point, so to speak, is Windows is transitioning into this new era, and it's going to be an agentic OS, meaning there'll be agents in Windows that you can control. Also, I'm sure, Microsoft 365, et cetera. But, as a major platform maker, they're doing this thing. I mean, to me, this makes sense, right?
They have more right to define the AI PC than just about anybody else on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And for the PC to keep moving forward, as it has, by the way, even as the world has kind of moved to mobile and, we all spend more time on these devices and everyone knows that
Mac's
story.
taking a bigger share, but still.
Yeah, but for Windows, Bill Gates once described, the incredible versatility of the PC, how it's been able to kind of come along with all these tech shifts. And this is one, honestly, I feel like it could successfully do. The cloud thing didn't make a lot of sense with Windows. All you had were these minor entry points with like OneDrive and files on demand, and obviously the Office apps may be running up in the cloud or whatever. But as far as Windows itself, like the cloud stuff, obviously they put Windows in the cloud too, right? Microsoft or Windows 365, I guess. But as far as the day-to-day impact,
OneDrive.
it was like, this though. Yeah, I mean, this makes sense to me, right?
Because this is as much a client as it is a backend service.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll jump ahead a little bit here. Tied to this is this notion of what I think I've described as like programmable apps. I'm still looking for the right term here, but it's this notion. If you accept that like Windows as a service is Microsoft's attempt, by the way, pretty successful now, to turn Windows into an online service in the sense that that's how it gets serviced, which is continually.
Yeah.
Most people would probably say it was a little too successful, kind of irritating. Apps are adapting to, I'm searching for terms. I don't think the industry has come to the right terms for this stuff. I'm going to say publish individual features so that they can be consumed by services, which will include AI agents, right?
Right.
And the idea there is that it's like creating a flow chart of, we're trying to get this task done. What are the features that we need that might be in apps? Some of them will be in online services. And then we're going to orchestrate that all together into a single workflow that gets whatever that thing is done, right? And I talked about how, the right-click menus in Windows are turning into these unbelievable, like long lists of things with all these sub-menus. We're going to have, we have open with, we have share with, we have AI actions are coming soon. If you don't already see that, we have individual apps like Photos and OneDrive that have their own side menus, or sub-menus. It's, this is happening, right? And so this is, I wrote an editorial last week. I don't remember if it was before Windows Weekly or after, but saying that, AI is the end of apps. And, to my literal audience, that was a little bit problematic. But the point, if you think about what's the natural end game for a web browser, we're turning these things into agentic browsers that are going to do tasks on your behalf, just like their operating system here. So people don't read already. Browsing is going to effectively go away. Not literally everybody, but I mean, as the primary use case, do we even need the browser anymore? I mean, we're just going to be talking to something and it will go do this on the back end, right?
I found it easier to digest if you just look at like an ERP system. Like a guy working in accounts receivable uses a piece of software that's just a wrapper over a database.
Yeah.
And if you had the data properly marked up with the right security rules and so forth, why couldn't a prompt give every answer that AR app could possibly give? Who owes us money? Who should I call first? What's their information? That can be promptified.
It's one of the unique things about this AI stuff right now is that because these companies are racing to get this stuff out in the world without being regulated and without being stopped in any way, they're agreeing with each other, right? They're agreeing on standards, right? Yeah. And, there's the MCP stuff. Exactly, right? And so these capabilities that we're seeing in apps in Windows now, and you'll see them you do, of course, like Magic Q on the Pixel is it orchestrating individual apps to do things for you proactively, right? Same theory. The apps are becoming I call it, I'm lacking for language here, but these apps are becoming programmatic. It doesn't, I know I need a better term, but much like the Ole, Com, whatever interfaces of the 1990s, they have public interfaces. And those public interfaces can be used by AI agents and other apps and services too, of course. Like Windows does that. That's where those menus come from.
Maybe it's interoperable.
Yeah. Like interface is a good word. Like I like that one. I remember the little like flower, like the circle on the stick icon to, that would, visually indicate the public and I guess private interfaces. But I keep looking. I every time Anthropic, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google announces something, I always look. I'm like, are they going to say something where it's like, this is it? Someone will come up with a better term. All right, so I've jumped ahead a little bit. So let me just talk briefly about what they announced, right? Which was the vision that Windows will be agentic, and they're saying, look, Ignite's coming in November. We are going to talk more about this. The stuff they talked about last week was essentially and probably entirely consumer features, but it is coming to business. And that was the promise at the end. They're like, look, we have a lot more to say about this stuff. And as that comes together, I think we'll learn a lot more and maybe some timing stuff, whatever. But
it'll be interesting to see how this fits against M365, because right now when you think about AI for business, you think M365 Copilot. So how does the OS play with that?
Yep. I can only speculate, but if we go back in time to the beginning, right? And so it's spring 2020, the beginning, of this era, right? The beginning, the bad times or whatever you want to think about, the dark ages that we're living in. So in February, March 2023, Microsoft over a period of time said, we're going to do something called Microsoft 365 Copilot. Right. And then I think it was at Build that year, they said, we're going to put Copilot in Windows. And the plan then, remember, was 23H2, but they rushed it out early so everyone would be kind of forced to get it. Of course, there's some construction thing happening right now. That's crazy. Sorry if you could hear that. And sorry if you couldn't, because I just paused for 2 seconds there. So that stuff happened. And the conversation at that time was, well, these are the two places where it makes sense for Microsoft to add AI. Windows as that orchestrator, like Stevie Batiste described it, will integrate these capabilities at an OS level. Makes sense. And you can see these programmable apps, again, for lack of a better term, as part of the steps to get to this thing, right? That has to happen. You can't just screen scrape and move a fake, mouse cursor around a web browser and click on things. Like it has to be programmatic, for lack of a better term. So, that made sense then. Now, what we've seen since then is Microsoft added Copilot to those Microsoft 365 apps as a sidebar. They've integrated it further. You can right click and do things and select words and do things and all that kind of stuff. They're kind of in the apps, right? We've seen what they've done in Windows. Some of it successful, some not. Some tied to Copilot plus PCs, right? Which is a problem because that limits its availability to everybody. And so part of this is a recasting of what it means to be an AI PC, specifically because we can't just limit it to Copilot plus PCs. We have to make these for this to make any sense. It has to be available to everybody, right? And that's what they're talking about, and that seems correct to me. But as far as like how does this integrate with
GPU?
There's always going to be this confusing matrix of features. Some of which are free with limits, some of which are just free. Some are cloud, some are local. Some require a subscription. If you're not the subscription holder, you can't. If there's not even an option for you, you can pay for these new subscriptions like Microsoft 365 Premium. On the business side, obviously, Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you're a business, you could roll this out to some users and not others, and et cetera, et cetera. But if you're the best case scenario for Microsoft, and I would say for a user as well, if you're in the Microsoft space, is you're running Microsoft 365 on top of Windows. And so, will Word and Excel and PowerPoint expose their features through AI actions? Probably, right? I mean, and so I say probably only because there's always like an asterisk, because is this a paid feature? Do you have to have a 365 subscription? Does it show up if you don't? Do they just not do it because they only want to put that through the subscription and you do those in the app? I can't say right now. They didn't talk about that, but that might be a good thing for Ignite, right? If they're going in that direction. Okay. So a lot of this stuff is going to sound familiar because, we've talked about it, but Hey Copilot as the wake word and then goodbye as goodbye are
More
available.
things you can't say on a podcast.
Right. Starting today, I should never say it again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, most of you guys probably don't have this enabled anyway. Who cares? It's fine.
Yeah.
So if you do, you get what you deserve. It's fine. So Copilot will, pop up. The Copilot supports all these different modes. It runs as an app. It has that quick access view. It takes over the Alt space keyboard if you want to do that. Windows key plus C. Does that work? Let me see. I don't know. Actually, that one might be off again. I don't know. There's all these different ways you can do this stuff. Obviously, it came up slow because it's Copilot. All right. So there's that. Copilot Vision, which we've been talking about for months, is how Copilot interacts with the outside world. Most obviously through just your screen, sharing your screen or an app, but also when you have cameras and things. Like I've been saying, I think that's more useful on a mobile device. But as far as you doing stuff, right? And this is an interesting crossover point with the Office stuff or the Microsoft 365 Copilot stuff, because you could be using Windows. You're not paying for anything. But now you're going to have Copilot Vision. You could share your screen that has an Office document in it, and you could ask that thing, or you could do it through Click to Do, whatever, summarize this, do whatever. You don't have to have Microsoft 365 Copilot. Are there going to be DRM protections that will prevent that in the future? It's Microsoft, of course, but they've not said that.
But that means Vision's both looking through the camera at you or whatever you're pointing the camera at,
it could,
as well as looking at what's on your screen.
The way it works now is you see a pair of eyeglasses in the UI, click it, and then you determine what you're going to share with it at that time. So it's kind of like a live thing, essentially, which is probably why Google calls this same feature Gemini Live, essentially, although they do other things too, like you talk to it. But, well, that's part of this too. It's very confusing. Anyway, so that stuff is all those two things are available now. And then they're going to replace the search box that's in the taskbar with a Copilot Actions or Copilot. I'm not sure what the name of it's going to be, but a Copilot box. It's a search. We'll do search plus Copilot, right, from the taskbar. Copilot Actions, which most people don't see yet, will be made available for local files. Not just stuff that's in the cloud, if you're working on documents and other files. I mentioned, I think it was last week, this is part of my confusion here. I think I talked about Manus, this AI chat box with a chatbot, rather with an agent. And I was like, this thing looks like a lot like Copilot. Like, why would they be promoting this? It's the way they described it. I just said Copilot and it popped up. The way
there you go. Now you're doing it.
I'm doing it to myself, so I get what I deserve.
Is not Microsoft, right?
What's that?
Manus
no, so that was
Microsoft.
My confusion at the time last week. The wording suggested it was theirs, but when I found it in the store and looked it up online, it was a third-party company. And when I went back, when they did this announcement, finally, I looked at it again and I realized this is one of two apps they're promoting because they're already integrating with the AI Actions menu in File Explorer, or they will soon, I should say. Actually, they're not there yet. And what that means is you'll be able to right-click on a document or file or whatever, and one of the actions you'll be able to do, well, it could be a series of actions, because actually this thing's pretty powerful, would be to push it through Manus and use their agent to go off and do something on that document or whatever. So that's coming. Filmora, which is an AI-based video editing app as well, which is paid. So I didn't look at it too hard, but also will integrate with that menu. And then so will 1,000 other things. That's going to be the problem. And then we're getting Zoom integration with Click to Do. And what that means is if you're using Click to Do, it has, purple, pink, selected all the text and graphics. If there is an email address in there or a phone number, you're going to be able to click on that. One of the actions will be create a Zoom meeting with that thing, that person, or that phone number or whatever.
Sorry, you said Zoom meeting?
Zoom, yeah. Zoom is going to,
Not
integration.
Not a team meeting.
Right. Well, that's probably already there, actually. I think Teams is already there for that, but they're doing it with Zoom as well. And, the EU's like, oh, you're doing Zoom. Good. Okay. Just keeping an eye on that one. The weird thing to me about that, by the way, is the Manus and Filmora integrations are with File Explorer. So that right-click menu. The Zoom integration is with Click to Do. And it's
Different
like
teams.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because, Click to Do is looking at what's on your screen. But then again, you could share the screen with Copilot Vision.
Yeah.
Is there a way I don't know. So there's going to be a lot of crossover here. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you haven't even said recall yet.
Yes. I will now because the same day that Microsoft had this big announcement, of course, they published a blog post describing this stuff, but they published a separate blog post that went into great detail. And then a third one on the, I think on the Microsoft Learn site that went into even more technical detail about how exactly they're going to secure agents in Windows. And I can tell you that they did this because of what they didn't do with recall, which wasn't secure it properly, but rather not document it correctly from the get-go. They just were very laissez-faire about it, and everyone was like, but hold on, what's going on here? And look, whatever anyone thinks of recall, this is a far bigger threat to anybody because of the nature of what agents are. No, I mean it. I mean, like as far as, the end game here, one of the end games is you say, you set an agent up. That's something simple. Like, look, I'm going to buy this Sonos speaker, but I'm only going to buy it when it goes under whatever price. I don't care where it comes from. I just want it at that price or lower. As soon as that happens, take this credit card number, buy it, ship it to my house.
Right.
And you're going to get up one day and you're going to get a notification that says, hey, that speaker's on the way. Congratulations. You just spent $200 or $600 or $800, whatever it is. Yeah. And that's going to be a gut check moment for people, I think. And we're going to see mistakes.
You let your software buy you a product.
Mm-hmm. And, look, I mean, this is the way the news has always worked, but we're going to hear about the mistakes.
Oh, sure. Well, think about the early days of the Amazon product, whose name I will not mention to not cause harm to others. Where that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Kids learn to use it. People learn pretty quickly to turn that off.
I woke up on a Sunday, I'm going to call it 20 years ago-ish, and just looked at my email, and it was like, Apple, charge of $50. Apple, charge of $78. Apple, charge of $80. Apple, charge of $100.
Sounds like mine.
And I was like, what the heck is this? My kids are playing some game on their iPod Touches that have little fish in them, like a fish thing.
Oh, that fish game.
They had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
Apple
actually had to change the rules.
Yeah, they changed the ruls. But that day, I ended up calling them. It was the only way I could get through to anybody or whatever. And they reversed all the charges, They told me the kids could keep the fish that they already got. And I'm like, the kids are not keeping the fish. The kids, we're getting rid of that app. But thanks, and then they changed the rules. Yeah. But
everybody learned in a big hurry.
Yeah. The article I wrote at that time was called "So Easy Even a Child Can Do It."
It just works.
But that stuff, this will happen, and it won't be $50 worth of fake fish. It's going to be $1,000 stereo system. It's going to be, there could be just fraud, right? I mean, this will happen.
Yeah.
Not because AI is inherently flawed or blah, blah, whatever. Like there'll be success stories too, but the failures here are going to be pretty dramatic. Some of them anyway. And, so everyone who's doing this is trying to go into it very carefully, at least. And Microsoft, to their credit, is trying to document what they're doing. So
yeah, you really don't have any excuses. We've made these mistakes before. You don't need to make them again.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if anything, you could at least learn from history. I mean, it doesn't always happen, but
no,
we'll see. It's a brave new world. I'm just curious. We keep talking about Windows 12 in this year and a half now, maybe. I don't know. And yeah, it would have been early 2023. I had written something like Windows 11's about to have its big AI moment. And that moment at that time was Copilot. And maybe that was going to be 12 and it wasn't. But, you realize now looking, with the 2 years almost of, over 2 years, of time between then and now, things have advanced pretty dramatically,
Yeah.
And when, this agentic stuff, again, it's a mess right now, but, it's just starting to happen. It's gonna be interesting to see how people react to this.
Yeah. And whether, like I said, I think the patterns already exist, but the more interesting part is recognizing that for the most part, after those original instances, people have simply rejected this to the point where the company's largely given up on the product. The reason Amazon made that product was to get people to buy stuff through it, and it just didn't happen.
Right.
It's entirely possible this is going to happen at the same place.
You put a disc or a dot or whatever they called it onto like a laundry detergent thing in your spare room where the laundry equipment is, and when that thing is empty, you hit the button and it just orders it for you. But again, there's a bit of trust going on there, right? Like we live in a world now where surge pricing is a thing, right? Yep. And you could imagine that if you bought it that way, they would charge you $5 extra or something. You wouldn't even notice it if, most people wouldn't. Yeah. There's a lot of danger inherent to this stuff because this is going to be a direct connection. No, it's not. It's going to be an AI middleman that sits between your wallet and the services where you might want to spend money. Mm-hmm. And when that system works, like tap to pay or anything else, like it's nice, when it doesn't work, tap to pay has never bought a stereo by mistake. I can tell you that, at least not so far.
Well, they have limits on tap to pay, which for a reason.
Yeah.
Some reason, as much as I use and love AI, I've never been tempted by these agentic browsers. Maybe that's one of the reasons is I want to give over control of my credit card.
So I wonder sometimes about that kind of thing because I feel the same way. And I think part of it is I like to read, and I want the browser to be this kind of minimalist thing that where I go and look at the content I want to look at.
Yeah.
And ideally in a distraction-free environment or whatever. And it's turning into this other thing. Now, I've also been the person who complained a year ago or whatever that browsers have not changed ever really in 20 years. And we use them more than any other app. And how is it possible that this thing has sat here basically untouched for so long? And now they're touching it. And I'm like, what are you touching my thing for? What are you doing?
Well,
you kind of loved Arc for a while there.
I love Arc. Yeah. And I still use an Arc clone.
I like things that work,
now you're just getting crazy.
Here's my question. Did anybody ask for this? Or it seems to me this is big tech's agenda because it's great for them. It's great for Amazon.
Okay, it is, but in an ideal world. And it's a
revenue model for all the AI companies.
But you could also
OpenAI is desperate for revenue model.
Amazon sells books, and that's a revenue model too, but you want the books. And so ideally, this would benefit both sides, right? That there would be, and I think we will benefit from it very early on, especially the issue is going to be this certification stuff, because inevitably, as these guys all find their positions in the world, and now we're using these products, whatever, maybe there's been a big shift. Maybe Google search does go away, whatever happens.
But first they have to compete, the certification comes later.
That's why, right. And so in the beginning, it's going to be great.
This seems servicing like a positive message from Paul.
And we're going to get hooked.
Golden era.
And then we're screwed. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if it follows.
Then you're really going to get it.
Yeah. If it follows the historic path, we'll see. I mean, one of the, Google got off mostly scot-free from the search thing, even though they're arguing every little point. But the big thing that they're arguing for there, and I think I don't know if this ties into ads or not, but definitely in search, is don't tie AI to this. Like, we get it. You think this thing's dominant. You're doing what you're doing, whatever. We disagree. But just so we're clear, Gemini something else. And of course they would want that, right? You don't want the the lock on this thing to go forward in the next generation. It would hobble them against Apple, Microsoft, OpenAI, whomever, Anthropic, whatever. So they're doing their thing. They're all,
it's already, though, a tussle for control. Like, do you control it? Or do they control it? Like, who's in charge here?
What are the chances that they're going to let the user have any control at all?
Right.
None.
Oh, there'll be tons of language about how you're always in control.
No.
But as far as
it'll be in the truth will be in the EULA, the thing you never read.
Right.
Yep. Oh, even here's something really simple. Let me bring this up and find this. So, because of all this stuff going on with Copilot, I had put this and other PCs in the dev channel. By the way, just finding settings in this app is a near impossibility. You have to open a side pane and then click on your face, just in case you couldn't find it. And
Sure.
And then
Click
the
on your
text
face
settings is
when in
like
doubt.
it's like 1 point. You can't even read it. But let's see if I can find this. Yes, I can't see it in here. But somewhere it says, literally, this is like a slide or a checkbox, whatever. And it says something like, if you check this, we're not going to use your data for training our AI models anymore.
But hide that box.
It's like it's actually by
Try to
default. Your chats are being used to.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, I don't.
Negative option billing.
Yeah. I know.
All right, let's on that note, let's take a tiny little pause, and we will continue.
Before we go, can I just say, our industry is so great, and everything they do is fantastic, and it's all for us, and we should just be thankful.
Thank you for finally telling the truth, Paul.
I know it took a while, but it's hard. It's scary. I feel better now, though.
Our AI overlords appreciate it.
Yes.
Well
I'm not
done.
going to get struck by the AI lightning anymore.
The robots are coming. All right, I see that the people have come for Mr. Richard Campbell. So now I'm going to pause and do a little commercial, and we will be back. Windows Weekly continues. We've got lots more to talk about. There's an Xbox segment. There's a AI segment. Wait a minute, didn't we just do the AI segment? There's tips, there's picks, and there's brown liquor. All of that still to come.
And you're going to need the brown liquor by the time we get to the end.
By the end of the show. Actually, I want to welcome a brand new sponsor to the show. I had a great conversation with them just a couple of weeks ago, Vention. And it fits right in, really, to what we're talking about. AI, obviously, is everywhere. And when you're in business, constant bombardment of AI. What are you going to do? What are you going to use it? How are you going to use it? We use us. When used right, AI definitely delivers results, but the chances are you're already thinking about how to bring it into your business. How to do it without wasting time, money, or momentum, without giving up control. Right? Well, Vention has an answer. They've been doing this for a long time, backed by 2 decades of software delivery experience. Vention has now AI workshops. You're going to want to do this, that offer practical, expert-led sessions that give your team the insights and structure they need to make smart decisions. Somebody is on your side, Vention. You bring your product vision, you bring your current stack, they bring their deep expertise in AI, in engineering, and yes, in your business domain too, because they've been doing this for a long time. Together, you will turn high-level ideas, the stuff the dreams you have right now, into a tailored, workable roadmap you can trust because you did it in partnership with somebody you trust, Vention. Whether you're a CTO, a tech lead, a product owner, don't do this on your own. You don't have to spend weeks figuring out tools, architectures, or models. Vention is the fast track to this. It helps assess your AI readiness, helps you clarify your goals. That's what's important, not somebody else's, not big tech's goals. And then outline the steps to get you to where you want to be without the headaches. And that's the workshop. But if you need help on the engineering front, they are great at that too. Their teams are ready to jump in as your development or consulting partner. This is really the most reliable step to take after your POC. Let's say you've built a promising prototype on Lovable, as one does, right? You probably did it last weekend. Runs well in tests. But now what? Do you open a dozen AI-specific roles just to keep moving? Do you bring in a partner who has done this across industries? Oh, maybe, yeah, that's an interesting idea. Someone who can expand your idea into a full-scale product, take that proof of concept and make it something real without disrupting your systems or slowing your team. Bringing your vision to life. Even with modern platforms, prototyping can be very draining and challenging. Once you get something working, chances are you'll want to shift gears from problem-solving mode to the big picture view. That's exactly why product leaders for 20 years have turned to Vention. Not just for Vention's AI workshops, but for the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're not building blind. I'm so impressed with these guys. I spent a bunch of time talking to them. So if you value speed, clarity, and impact and want to avoid second guessing your next AI move, learn more at ventionteams.com or book your workshop at ventionteams.com/twit. You'll leave with a plan that works, a partner you can count on, and a lot fewer gray hairs. That's ventionteams.com/twit. ventionteams.com/twit. All right, we've given Paul a little time to cool
I've
off.
convinced security guys that I'll be out of here on 11 on time.
Oh, good.
That's all.
Did they come in and say, Mr. Campbell, what are you doing in here?
They knew I was in here. She was just like, you're done by 11, right? Yes, I'll be done by 11.
What time is it now?
10:55.
No, it's what is it? It's almost 9. So.
Oh yeah, you'll be done by 11.
It's the 3 hours. You'll be in intelligent machines by the time I need to get out.
By then, yeah. You know, actually, you might be interested. We're talking to some people from HP's Hewlett Packard's AI. They have a new DGX little mini box based on the Blackwell,
just like the NVIDIA's been making.
Yep. It's got NVIDIA in it, and we will talk to them about local AI for business and home.
See if you can get a little bag of them there, Leo.
I wouldn't mind a couple.
I'll play with one. Yeah, no, I can put one to work.
We had Harper Reed on Sunday on Twit, and he holds up his little Blackwell box, his little DGX Spark, and I went, "What?" I said, "Yeah,
you get one of those.
They sent me one.
That's nice.
They sent me one. Just sent it to me because he's an AI. He's got an AI startup. That's why.
There you go.
Well, that's nice.
They're hoping he'll buy 10,000 of them.
Well, then part of the conversation in a place like Norway has definitely been, hey, we don't want this stuff in the cloud. We want it to be as local as possible.
This is a hot topic right now.
Totally. And when you go around making NUCs, like mini PCs.
Yeah, you should see this thing.
That can run GPT-3 Plus in it.
I know.
What are we talking about? Like, there's a lot of companies that would drop a decent figure to have these hosted models here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've got with this framework desktop, and I can run GPT OSS 120.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Pretty neat. This is, it's the ZGX, not the DGX. They call it.
There you go.
Because DGX was taken, I guess.
But I think there's also the counter on, we're also finding out these really large models are only good in certain circumstances, and they need a lot of governance. Like, there's a case for making smaller, more precise models for particular workloads, and those will fit nicely in this small hardware.
Yeah, look at this thing. It's so cute.
It's cute.
It's so cute.
I love it.
It's cute. Yeah, by all means, I'll take one there, Leo, when you're chatting.
I'll ask him. I'll ask him.
We're keen.
Yeah. Comes with the Blackwell. You know, it's weird. I think it doesn't run Windows. It runs an NVIDIA OS, right?
They probably should. Yeah. Just a Linux derivative. It just needs to be as light as possible.
Yeah. Get out of the way.
Yeah.
Because, I'll ask him. We'll be talking to the product manager for this device and a guy who's kind of in charge of AI at HP.
Yeah. I've been doing a bunch of stuff against my 5080 through WSDL for exactly the same reason.
It's really interesting.
It's efficient. Yeah.
In fact, I still think Claude Code is better, even though it goes to the cloud. But I've been using Open Code with LM Studio and that GPT OSS 120, and it's pretty cool. It's local coding, local vibe coding.
Yeah.
Anyway,
these back-end service devices, you don't really care what the OS is. It's an API,
right?
Data in, data out. Thanks for playing.
Right. I'm actually running Cache OS on the framework. Runs beautifully. It's very fast, and it gets out of the way. Yeah. Cache is nice because it's a Linux that's optimized for modern hardware. The kernel is optimized. Everything's optimized for speed, and so you really do get a snappier performance. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going to step back now. Let you guys continue on.
Let's talk about a bad patch week, my friend, because boy, we took a kicking.
Oh, jeez. I saw this, man. Oh, jeez.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Everything's fine.
It's fine.
Good.
We're fine.
It's
when
all
Minnesotan Leo comes out, you know it's bad.
Oh, jeez. This is bad. Killed my mouse. Oh, man.
Well, okay. So to be fair, what they killed was USB keyboard and mice in the Windows recovery environment. It didn't impact
Perfect
the OS
timing.
itself. Yeah,
you wouldn't even notice it until you loaded the recovery environment. But then, that's kind of like the last time you want to notice that.
I've spent
So
2 to 3
what you're telling me is that I've been hanging onto this PS2 keyboard for a reason.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It would work, wouldn't it?
Well, if you have the port,
Nobody has that port anymore.
That's the thing. I have a PC here that will not install any insider build. So it's on in some insider program thing. And when the new build comes out, it goes to 10%, then it fails. You look up the error and it says the problem is the Windows recovery environment, or the recovery partition is too small. And so literally the advice from Microsoft is there's a command line you can do to get into the recovery environment, even though it doesn't have the recovery partition, even though it doesn't have a drive letter. And then you delete some fonts and then it works fine. And so, like a typical Windows idiot, I did that for 4 to 5 builds. And then I was like, okay, here's an idea, Paul. Maybe I should fix this. And there are command lines that involve, it's a combination of command lines with the disk part and use the disk management, legacy interface, to get off the Windows Key plus X, right? And you can do this. And it's actually pretty good information. When we get to the back of the book, I'll talk about this a little bit more because I had to do this for another reason later. But, you basically make the thing, it was 768 megabytes or something. I made it like a gigabyte, right? And that seems to solve the problem. So there you go. So you essentially what you're doing is you delete the partition, you make the change to the disk, you do whatever you're doing, and then you go back and then there's a command that brings it back and it reloads it off of this Windows recovery environment. And not being able to access, if this isn't a laptop where it has an integrated keyboard, it'd be kind of hard to use this thing without a keyboard and a mouse.
Because if you had a wireless keyboard, you still have a USB dongle, so it's effectively a USB keyboard anyway.
Yeah, I don't know maybe a Bluetooth, something would work I doubt it though, man. I don't know how you would, maybe there's a command line you can run.
Tell me what isn't USB. Like I pulled out the PS2 out of nowhere, but nobody's got that port anymore.
I'm surprised I didn't run into this because I've been in the Windows recovery environment approximately 21 times in the past week. And
but all on laptops.
That's okay. Actually, that's true.
Who has a desktop anymore? Oh, wait, it's me. Yeah.
Well, I have one. Listen, I told you about the desktop monitor that doesn't work. That was for that little Lenovo desktop, which is a Qualcomm computer, which would have to use a USB keyboard and mouse, but I don't have a display that works. So that's been going great. Anyway. Yeah. So the Patch Tuesday update from this month, October, broke this for people. So you're only going to notice this if you actually have to access the Windows recovery environment. You can, technically there are different versions of that. You can boot from install media in this Windows recovery environment on that disk as well. But if you made it with an earlier version of the OS, I suppose that would still work. I'm not actually 100% sure, but I've not experienced it. But anyway, there's an emergency fix. You can download the cumulative update. And if you didn't get the Patch Tuesday update from last week, you could just install this. And this brings all that stuff in as well. So it will be part of the update stream, or whatever that's called, going forward. So as November, December, et cetera, comes along, all this stuff will be there. So we'll come up with a new problem next month. Don't worry about it. So there's that. And then what else we got here? We have a set of insider builds. Last week, beta and dev, which is 24 and 25H2, got actually one update I think is pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever used the mobile devices interface in Windows 11, but if you go in settings, Bluetooth and devices, and then mobile devices, this thing was broken for a really long time. It would let you add Android devices, but not take them away, like remove them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you couldn't do it from the Microsoft account website either, which is where you're also supposed to do that, but they fixed it. And on this computer I'm running here, it's the interface we've always had. You click the button, a window comes up, it lists all your phones, and then whatever capabilities each might have. So, for example, I'm using an Android phone as a webcam. I can have one of my Android phones, because I have several, configured for that purpose, right? So whichever one it is I'm using for that. But they're going to put it in line in settings. And so I don't have it yet on this computer. But if you imagine, the settings interface, the settings app, instead of it posting or pulling up a new window, it's just going to be in line, will expand in line like everything else does in that app, actually. So that will be consistent. Drag tray improvements. Never seen a drag tray, by the way.
What's the drag tray?
Never seen. Yeah. So it's like the snap layout thing. And the way that works is you drag a file toward the top of the screen and a little bar will come down like with Snap, but it will give you options for sharing. Now, I say that like I know what I'm talking about. I've never seen it. So it's out there somewhere. I'm sure some of you might have it. I don't know. I don't have it on any of my computers, but apparently it's been out for a little while because now they're improving it. But I don't have it, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
This machine grabbed 25H2 the other day, so I'm 25H2.
Yes. Oh, so I actually got it. Yeah, so that's starting to happen.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, and you must have noticed all kinds of different, new things. Different. Sorry, I can't even maintain this. Yeah,
it's completely transformed.
Yeah. Today, Microsoft released a release preview build. So this is, it should be 25 and 24H2, depending on which build you're on in the release preview. So it doesn't matter because they're going to be the same thing. So this is where they're delivering that new start menu, which I do have on this computer. I have this on different computers. I don't quite get it. New battery icons, so you can do, those colors now are green and orange, depending on the status of the battery. Copilot integration in the Taskbar, which is that search replacement thing I was just talking about. And I said that word and Copilot launched.
There you go.
I know.
Now you. This is your life. This is your life.
Yeah, and then Siri launches. My life is a living hell where the only person I want to talk to, my wife, can't hear me, but these things hear me all the time, and I'm not even talking to them.
Sometimes they hear me in another room.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear a dim voice saying, "Yeah,
what?
Yeah, my hearing's terrible too. Whatever. So a bunch of stuff. Most of it's not super important or dramatic, but the Copilot Vision thing, the Copilot bit in the taskbar, I think is a big deal. Start menu is a big deal. And so based on the timing, if you look at the calendar, next week is week D, and that tells me we're going to see a preview update with this exact stuff in it, right? For Windows 11, 24, and 25H2. And then 2 weeks later, I guess, on whatever the second Tuesday of November will be Patch Tuesday, and then it will go out to stable, sort of, because these things never go out like that. But eventually, like I said, drag bar, yeah, I've never seen it, not even once. So I don't know. I've seen pictures of it, but I've never seen it. Also today, Microsoft announced a version of the Paint app for Windows 11 that's going out to Dev, Beta, and Canary, but not release preview, curiously. That adds the restyle capability that's already available in Photos. And that's where you have some kind of an image and you click restyle. It's just a bunch of, like impressionist, futurist, right, like whatever the different styles are.
All those Instagram filters from a million years ago.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty dramatic actually, but well, we'll see. That seems okay. And then just a couple of app things outside of Microsoft. You win one, you lose one, or you get one. We didn't get anything. So OpenAI yesterday.
It's all bad for Windows.
It's all terrible. I got nothing but bad. OpenAI launched their browser, which we've known has been coming for a long time.
Yeah.
It's called Atlas or ChatGPT Atlas. It's only on the Mac right now because screw you, Microsoft, even though you were once our biggest partner.
How many customers do you want, right? I guess they are in the Valley, so it's all Macs down there.
I get it. Those guys probably all use Macs. I understand, but it's Chromium. This is a Chromium browser. It could just work on Linux.
There's really no excuse.
Yeah. What are you doing? What's the difference?
Well, it's OpenAI. You think they have any software developers? They could be using
well, that's the thing, right? So,
this.
the browser company that makes Dia and Arc is a small company, based in Brooklyn. It's not too many people. They're Mac guys, right? They have Macs. They develop in Swift. Obviously, the Mac version's coming out first, right? They eventually did get it. Well, got Arc out on Windows to this day, by the way. So we still don't have Dia. Okay, I can give them a pass, I guess. I don't like it, but it's okay, fine. OpenAI though, what? It's a checkbox in the Visual Studio. What are you doing? I don't even understand not having all of the.
I'm pretty sure they could have asked Copilot for that.
Exactly right. We vibe code the browser.
Yeah,
I know it's crazy.
How could they not?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Literally, I'm I don't understand it. I don't know.
I suspect they told the LLM to make the Windows version and it failed. And then they just shipped my Mac version while they try to figure out what went wrong.
If you're, I don't know, in the right frame of mind, maybe you've drank too much or maybe you don't drink at all and you need something that has that effect, I strongly recommend watching the announcement video for this browser. It's hilarious. It's Sam Altman, who's not quite a human being, and then what appears to be 3 children sitting on a couch. And his attempts at being conversational, ironically, are really not very good.
He's supposed to be the host in this scenario. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. He looks. This guy can't be 40, right? He's got to be younger than 40. I'm guessing, or maybe he's around 40. He looks like he's 40 years older than the other people on the couch, which doesn't make any sense, right? Mathematically. But yeah, anyway, they step through. Look, if you're familiar with Dia or Comet or Neon, we're in the same ballpark here, right? So it's a minimalist kind of Chrome looking thing. That's the new tab pages, of course, the ChatGPT prompt box. And there's some little integration bits. And then the Agentic stuff is coming a little bit later, I believe, and will be made available first to those who pay for ChatGPT, right? Eventually, they'll have limits for everybody and it will just work. But anyway, they said we will Windows and mobile soon. But, talk is cheap. And I hope no one was using this. I hope no one ever uses this, but... Meta is about to pull the plug on its Messenger app for Windows and also for the Mac OS, which we don't really care about. But this is probably something you can get in the Microsoft Store today, but I guess they're going to get rid of it. And in about 60 days, they'll deprecate it. And then 60 days, I guess after 60 days, they'll just block this thing. It will be gone. So
just use a web client.
Yep. Yeah, Yeah, messenger.com. They probably paid more than that than they paid for Instagram. Is the URL for that. If you are a Facebook Messenger guy, I guess, I don't know. Facebook Messenger is like the 17th place someone could contact me directly. It's not my preferred one, but everyone's on Facebook, I guess, or was.
Not everyone. Lots of people have left it. The Venn diagram doesn't overlap completely on anywhere. It's some Signal, some WhatsApp, some Messenger. I don't have to use.
Not to get off on a tangent on that little thought, but I respect it, but also screw you guys because I'm left behind over here. I'm holding a bag. There's no one's here anymore, or some people are. It's my stupid uncle and his son and 3 other people. And it's could we just all be on the same thing? Could there be a thing?
No, not
I guess
a thing.
we can't. Yeah.
Not a
can't
thing.
do that. Oh, well.
Okay.
All right.
Where'd the Minnesotan go?
I don't know. I will move along. So, I don't remember when I did this. I want to say 6-9 months ago, maybe longer. I went to the SEC. I had to sign up for this. They had to vet me and determine it was okay for me to get this. And now I get notifications every time Microsoft has a filing with the SEC.
Right.
And most of them are kind of like Bob Smith is selling some number of shares. It's over some limits. So we have to report that. It's, whatever.
Yep.
It's not really, most of it's kind of like whatever. But yesterday, I'm not sure why yesterday, but their annual report was published through the SEC. So I got an alert.
So this is as of June 30, the last fiscal year.
Yeah, literally for the last fiscal year that ended, what is that now, 3 months ago? July,
Yeah,
September, 4 months ago, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. And it's 88 pages long. I started reading through it and I was like, all right, I'm going to put this thing aside. I want to spend some time going through it. And then I saw that, Todd Bishop wrote a story about how much Satya Nadella made last year. And I was like, okay. So this is the type of thing probably most people are interested in, but I'm just going to comb through this thing and I'm going to look for how Microsoft talks about consumers as a customer base, right? That Microsoft has business customers or, commercial customers, which span businesses of all size, governments, et cetera. And then they have consumers. And it's actually, I have to say, there's some clarity here that I really enjoy. They still don't divulge numbers where they don't do it elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And if you think about Microsoft's consumer products, and this will be a brief conversation, obviously Windows, right? Because Windows PCs are bought by people. Microsoft 365 has consumer versions, right?
Family edition, that kind of thing.
Family, personal, and now premium. And then whatever the low end one is that used to be OneDrive, paid storage, whatever that's called, Core or something.
SAD.
Yeah, the SAD one. Yeah, Microsoft 365 SAD.
SAD.
You pay us and we give you nothing. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I have
so
another? And then also Xbox gaming. So these things are all unique in their own ways. Xbox gaming is what this may not be the right term, but I think of it as Microsoft's only kind of pure play consumer offering, right? It's literally only for consumers. You're not going to be managing Intune while you're playing Call of Duty, off the console, whatever.
No, I can't put Xbox in my conference. It upsets people.
Microsoft 365 and Windows are both interesting, and Microsoft addresses this in this. I was fascinated by this because if you think about how would a company measure the success of something it sells, right? The two primary ways are obviously revenues, literally the dollars that are coming in.
What the shareholder cares about.
That thing. And then the size of the audience, right? The number of customers, the number of active users, perhaps like monthly active users, right? There's only one Microsoft product I can think of, and it's consumer and commercial actually, but where Microsoft routinely, to this day, gives us both of those numbers, right? And so if you look at Microsoft 365 consumer, they tell you every quarter how many there are. Like I don't remember the last number, 100 million-ish, somewhere around there, paying users. They pay the subscription, they get the service, right? There are supposedly a billion-ish Office users overall. I don't remember the number on commercial, but let's say it's 3 to 4 times that size because I think it is. So about half of the user base right now is paying Microsoft on an ongoing basis for these products, which, by the way, super lucrative, right? Way more lucrative than I got Office with a computer 8 years ago and I'm still using it. That's what they want. They want that. So that business is unique. Windows is unique. But the thing that came up in the context of both of those businesses is they said that the complexity of their own business is such that it makes it very hard to audit any of these things to find out where the money's coming from, which is the thing I've been complaining about for years and years, right? So Microsoft 365 encompasses Windows and those apps and all the other stuff in Office or whatever, what I still think of as an Office. Most of that is in that business and productivity services, that company, whatever the name of that is. But some of it's in more personal computing because the consumer stuff includes things like consumer Copilot and Windows, obviously, and they don't, from a business perspective, you have these, I'm going to call them business units or groups or whatever inside of the company. So you might have a group that's working on, I'll just say Windows commercial to make it super complicated. So is that part of the Windows group? Is that part of Microsoft 365? The budget we give them for marketing and R&D and whatever else, how do we proportion that between those two business units? The money that comes in, how do we allocate those revenues to either business unit, right? I mean, it's actually very complicated. They wrote a whole thing. They basically said, they didn't say it this way, but they said, auditing our business is next to impossible. So
wow.
It was like, yeah, I know, exactly. There's probably 3 people in the C-suite who have all the numbers they need to make sense of this. But my God, it must be like a, multi.
Yeah, and I don't know how much they want to share it. Some of that's fairly self-serving too. It's I really don't want to show these numbers, but it helps that it's really hard to show them in the first place.
Yes, and this doesn't come up in the annual report, but I know from many, many years of writing about their earnings reports every quarter that they've been purposefully falling off to the side with details. Hard numbers are very hard to come by, and that's how much is Microsoft losing? Let's assume it's losing on Copilot right now. How could you ever tell? Copilot is spread over the entire company. There's no way to know. And that's absolutely, at least partially by design, right? I mean, it has to be. You can obfuscate where money's coming from, where it's going, where we're making investments, et cetera. But other than that little weirdness, I have to say their description of Xbox and gaming as a business is maybe the clearest I've ever seen from them. There's no new information. It's just the way they spell it out. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is how this world is changing. And we have to be competitive, right? They don't go into a lot of details on competitors, but they do specifically mention which competitors exist in each of these businesses. They have concerns about this new, iPad thing with iPad OS. They don't say that, but they talk about a kind of a high-end, consumer electronics company from California, that kind of language where it's they don't really say Apple, but they mean Apple, right? The iPad and then Android tablets are going to be these productivity devices. and that people will be able to use them to replace PCs. Now, I'm sure some have, but this was becoming more and more viable. So that's a threat, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just kind of interesting stepping through it. Surface doesn't look good for Surface. There's not a lot of talk about it. They mentioned that they do it. They mention some of the competition, but they also talk about how for this thing to survive, like the value it has to bring is one of those things. They still talk about like inventing new form factors, and it's like, guys, like I think.
But I would think Pavan wants a shot at this, right? He's only just gotten his presidency. He's got all of Windows together. Like, why would you in
charge of that? Yep.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want the hardware too and put your own brand on it?
So I speculated in here that from a kind of traditional hardware perspective, laptops, desktops, the various permutations, we've been kind of stuck in this space for a while. It's possible that these new natural language interactions will lead to a change in form factors, that USB problem in the Windows recovery environment maybe wouldn't be a problem if you could talk to it, or whatever. I'm not saying that justifies what they're doing.
Keyboards, where we're going, we don't need keyboards.
Right. Where we live, the keyboards type us. But interestingly, so, Microsoft 365 is a business, great. That thing's great. Windows, from my perspective, in some ways is coasting, but they're very bullish on that. All the Copilot stuff coming and the transformation of this kind of part of the market. So, we'll see. They literally talk about gaining share in the PC space, which is kind of interesting. But they spend more time and space talking about gaming than about, I think, everything else they make consumer-wise combined almost. It's almost that much stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, and let's face it, Xbox, and I know you're probably talking about this in the Xbox section, is going through a transformation.
Yeah,
and
Which
not
they
one
can't
that they didn't
fully
need.
divulge.
Yeah.
They, for the first time, are having third-party hardware makers design and sell Xbox-branded devices.
Well, and more importantly, and make a PC a first-class Xbox client.
Yep. They claim that they will continue to invest in buying gaming studios and content, expand their library of intellectual property, leverage new content creators. This sounds like a regulatory impossibility to me, but that's that's what they're saying. A lot of this is just standard, like, we make video game consoles. We have a collection of first-party studios. They create iconic and differentiated gaming experiences. We put those things on our devices. We put them on PCs. We put them on mobile. We stream them through the cloud, et cetera. I read this as I
don't know what there's left to buy. EA's now fully off the market. You already got Blizzard, Activision. Like, we got ZeniMax. What are you buying?
So I think there's a sweet spot in gaming that is way below the Call of Duty level, right? Yeah. And at the end of the show, I'm going to touch on this very briefly, but there are a lot of these kind of smaller game makers that just have a couple of hit games, like a one or two.
The sort of indie game space.
Exactly, right. And Microsoft, like Sony, and maybe Steam, I'm not familiar with that, but does have a nice kind of focus area for indie games. And bringing those things in-house would be really neat, because
there's a simple solution to that: buy Unity. It's just, you want to talk about the FTC getting in your way.
I was going to say that would be the one they would say no way, right?
They would blow a gasket.
At this point, when they were going through the process for Activision Blizzard, they had to know, it's like, we're doing this, right? Because we're not doing anything else. Like, we will never be allowed to do anything big after this. And Unity would be, there's no way.
It'd be huge. But,
it would be unbelievable. Yeah.
But and Unity's wobbly. Like, they have not had some good years here. They've hurt themselves. Their investors are putting pressure on them to find new ways to make money, and they're damaging the company doing it.
So Mark Whitten, the same genius behind a lot of the Xbox One's greatest successes, was the architect of the let's charge a usage fee for people who license our software. Every time they sell a game, we're going to make a percentage of it. And it's like
retroactively, because that's not going to anger anybody.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, this supersedes whatever agreement you already have with us, so you have to do it now. And it's like, it didn't go over well. That's one of the case studies in that Cory Doctorow book, right? He does, it's that was a boneheaded, and they completely reversed. They had to. That was stupid.
They had to, because
this is what happens, when you're like, all right, look, this market is some size. We pretty much have whatever part of it, some percentage, most of the games, are being made with our engine. We don't really have growth. All right, so what can we do?
You're in the red ocean state. You only can go after existing market pieces.
Yeah, exactly. All we can do now is charge the people who rely on our stuff more, the most, to charge more, and that's in certification, right? It's literally like, how do we drag more value out of this thing and hinder the people who now rely on our technology?
And the issue here, in my mind, is you took investment dollars X many years ago, and those investors now don't see ongoing growth, and they want their exit. Yeah, and so they're really pushing you to either pay them out or take on other investors, and you can't do either one. And so things get stupid.
Yep. I'm sure this was influenced by the 30% app fee thing, where they were like, Apple's getting money on an ongoing basis if people subscribe to apps. Why can't we do that?
They do that with NFTs. Every time you sell the NFT, I get a little cut.
And it's a tough thing. Good pictures of monkeys. I'm really excited about it.
Anyway, so it's worth reading just for the Xbox stuff. They really do make a good case for this, whatever you want to call it, Xbox Anywhere, like everything's an Xbox, however you want to say that. Again, the future growth will be determined by things like the success of this subscriptions, that's revenue based, right? Sales of first and third party content, although, well, it depends on the game, right? So, Call of Duty will probably make $1 billion again. I guess there's money, obviously, there. Advertising. But then there's the user base, right? Yep. And I don't think anyone right now would be like, man, Xbox is nailing it in the terms of like making their user base feel good about themselves and the choices they made. But the reality is, from the perspective of a gamer, Xbox is still today the most gamer-centric, if you will, of these ecosystems, in part because they do all the cross-play and backward compatibility stuff, and you can, move across the different devices, play the same game, keep your, progress, et cetera, et cetera. But, they have to keep cranking out new games or on that treadmill. They have to figure out some availability of those games via schedule and or how, if you're going to put it in Game Pass, and if so, when, et cetera, et cetera. There's complexity there, but if they're not the biggest game publisher on earth, it's weird. I haven't been able to really find that out for sure, but I think they are. If they're not, they're like a close number 2, right? They're one of the biggest. We can
EA has to be the biggest, doesn't it?
No.
I feel like I think Activision Blizzard / Microsoft is bigger than
I guess,
EA.
you're right.
But EA is big. I mean, they're big.
Didn't they say, though, in the lawsuit that only made them number 3 or something?
Yeah.
But that was consoles.
Well, that was counting mobile. Right, that's how that goes. Because once you have someone playing Wordle on a phone, that's a gamer, and there are 1 billion of those devices on both platforms. That's the bigger market.
Apple's
but
the big market.
But that's why Xbox or Microsoft Gaming or whatever you want to call this thing is so important, because even they've pegged the number of monthly active users or active users, whatever the figure is, at about 500 million. Right, 385 million of which came from Activision Blizzard. If you look at 1 billion Office users, you're like, oh, that's half. You look at 1.5 billion Windows users, supposedly that's 1/3. But the thing that those guys get that you don't see in Microsoft 365 or Windows is engagement. Like, those guys are actively buying games and stuff. Like, they're actually, they're doing stuff, spending money, like not just on the subscription maybe, but also if they're not subscribing, or if they are, they're also buying some games, right? And so look, 500 million is not a small audience, but I mean, it may look a little small compared to some other platforms, but they don't actually say this explicitly. I'm saying this, but that's an audience that is in some ways much more valuable, right? It gives them a little bit of a exposure to the kind of thing Apple and Google get on mobile, right? Where you get people who are super, engaged and doing stuff, Anyway, a lot of stuff here, but looking to the future, how we think these businesses are going to do, what the competitive risks are, et cetera, et cetera. But, just looking at just consumer, which, I have to guess because they don't say this, but revenue / user base, I bet it's about 1/3 of what they have on the commercial side. There are certain parts of that commercial side, like Microsoft 365, and which includes Windows, right? Windows Pro and enterprise licensing, which I think is incredibly lucrative for Microsoft and is also that kind of ongoing payment thing that they love. But on the consumer side is not small. I mean,
don't argue too much that it's big, because one of the things that advertisers tell us is, Windows is for consumers. And we're going, what are you talking about? No, that's the thing. Like
I maybe this was my mistake. I maybe stupidly wrote the headline for this because I went through different permutations, but I called it "Do Consumers Matter to Microsoft at All?" Which is slightly provocative.
If it's 30%, they matter.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing on that front, but it's got to be somewhere around there. Of course it matters. This is
still billions of dollars,
and they're still trying to grow the user base and grow revenues, right? They haven't given up on this. I mean, you could be kind of snide about it and be like, dude, does Microsoft matter at all to consumers? And like, okay, yes, maybe not to you, Linux guy, but the truth is, yes, actually
it does. No. It's the number one consumer operating system. If you don't look at mobile.
On the desktop.
For the desktop, if you don't look at mobile.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
You have to look at mobile.
The primary difference between a phone and a tablet and Windows or a Mac is primarily the computer's used for work, right? And that's fine. It's good at that. It's optimized for that. Big screen, full-size keyboard, et cetera. So you're a creator, you're using Photoshop or using some video editing software, you're writing in Word or you're in Excel, whatever it is, right? You're working. I mean, some older people might still be on Facebook and, maybe viewing photos and movies for some reason. But for the most part, those kind of fun things occur on other devices. And so, I mean, you could look at it and be like, it's not fun or whatever usually. I mean, although you can play games on Windows, obviously. But that's still a captive audience. It's not going anywhere. We're using these things. I mean, maybe these new devices will screw that around. But for right now, I mean, I think they can make a good case, for Windows for consumers. So I'm sure they won't screw it up with Copilot. Don't worry.
It'll be fine. Everything will be fine.
Everything's fine.
We're fine.
All right, let's take a little break, and then we will continue on with Windows Weekly. It's not just for consumers. Let's say it that way.
There you go.
It's for everybody. Maybe a few consumers, I guess, are in the mix. You're all winners in my book, and a few of you are dozers. Our show today, actually, if you want to be a good dozer, you might want to think about our sponsor, Helix Sleep. I was just looking at my sleep score. Man, it's better than it's ever been. And I have to give credit to my Helix Sleep mattress. It is, that thing is lush. It is comfortable. It is the best mattress I've ever had. As we get ready for, in the northern hemisphere anyway, for the colder season, if you're in Stavanger, I'm sure it's getting a little chilly. Up north means you're going to spend more time indoors. Make sure you're comfortable with a Helix mattress. Helix changes everything. I'm not kidding either. No more night sweats, no back pain, no motion transfer. Don't settle for a mattress made overseas with kind of low quality and questionable materials. And you know that too, because you get those other mattresses and they smell like container ship, to put it nicely. Rest assured, no, not with Helix. Your Helix mattress is assembled, packaged, and shipped from Arizona. It smells fabulous. And it's made within days of your order. It's made in response to your order. So they do it quickly. It's just in time, but it's nice because it's fresh. It's brand new. It hasn't been sitting in a warehouse, hasn't been sitting on a container ship. It's just, it's so ready to go. I just love my Helix mattress. Helix has been recommended by multiple leading doctors of sleep medicine, psychology, and neurobiology as a go-to solution for improving sleep. One doctor of sleep medicine says, quote, Helix offers different options to give great support regardless of what position you sleep. The materials used also help prevent overheating during the night, end quote. Now, we take the questionnaire when you get to helixsleep.com/windows. Take the questionnaire. And we did, and I'm a stomach/side sleeper. So we ordered a mattress that was appropriate for how we sleep, and you'll do the same. We actually ended up getting the topper as well. They have a wonderful topper that even makes it cooler, and it's been really nice. In a recent Wesper sleep study, Helix measured the sleep performance of participants after switching from their old mattress, like we did, to a Helix mattress, like we did. Here's what was found. 82% of participants saw an increase in their deep sleep cycle. For sure I did. like another 10, 15 minutes. Actually, it says participants on average achieve 25 more minutes of deep sleep per night. Wow. That's fantastic. Deep sleep's the most important one. That's the one that cleanses your brain, right? Participants on average achieved 39 more minutes of overall sleep per night. So they slept longer, they slept better. Time and time again, Helix Sleep remains the most awarded mattress brand. Wired's Best Mattress 2025. Let me just say that. Good Housekeeping's Bedding Awards 2025. It was given an award for premium plus size support. GQ Sleep Awards 2025 Best Hybrid Mattress. Wirecutter. New York Times Wirecutter Award this year, 2025. These are all for 2025. Featured for plus size. Oprah's Daily Sleep Awards for 2025. Best hotel-like feel. That one cracks me up. But if I think about it, it's true that, when you're really at a nice, like a 5-star, 6-star hotel, you get in bed and you go, oh, I want this at home. This is nice. That's what I got. That's what you're going to get when you go to helixsleep.com/windows. 20% off site-wide right now during the fall savings event. That's helixsleep.com/windows for 20% off, and that's site-wide. This offer ends on October 31st. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. That's important to us. Oh, and if you're listing after the sale ends, still check them out. Always great deals at helixsleep.com/windows. I will say it absolutely. I will sing it to the rooftops. Helix Sleep Mattress. I love it. I sleep better on it. So nice. Can't recommend it more highly. Now, as if we haven't been, let's talk about AI.
Well, yes. I guess we can't avoid it. So let's see. What do we got here? So Copilot for Education is coming in December. It will be less expensive than Microsoft 365 Copilot for Education. So the business offering is typically $30 per user per month. This one will be $18 per student per month, I guess we'll say. And it's but it will be available to educators as well. So if you are working at an educational institution or a student, 13 and older, you'll be able to get basically the capabilities you see across Microsoft 365 Copilot for less money, I guess, right? And of course, I keep saying, I got to turn this thing off. I keep saying that word and the new C word. And
the new C word.
Can you change it? Does it accept some other word?
Oh, can I change the verbal? Oh, that, I don't think so yet. But that's got to be. That's got to be.
I wish you could. I don't understand.
I have some choice words I'd like to use.
Yes.
Yeah, for this thing.
Change the wake word. Hey,
please.
you.
Yeah, it's each time it comes up, it's momentarily confusing because there's kind of a little chime sound where you're like, oh, that's very pleasant. What's making the sound? And then you realize it's listening to you. And if I gave it a second, it would be like, hey, Paul, what's happening this afternoon? Because it's super happy all the time. And it's like, dude, lower it down a little bit, man. Like, it's just
dial that stuff down.
Yep.
Chill, man. Chill.
I did. I recorded several episodes of Hands on Windows recently, so I have all this stuff on this computer, and it's like it's making me insane. I can't stand it. But anyhow, okay. So that's happening. Last week, I think it was last week actually. Anthropic announced they were bringing integration between cloud, their AI chatbot, etc., with Microsoft 365 Commercial, which they didn't really say, but as you read it, you realize it's not the consumer version. So they're using connectors like a lot of AIs, and they're connecting. I think they already did the Google stuff, and now they're adding a connector for Microsoft 365. So obviously, your IT staff or your admin will have to enable this functionality for you to get it, and then either they'll send it to you and you'll just have it, or you could just install this as an individual, I guess. And I mean, this is the interoperability thing I was talking about. Like, we've all agreed on the standards. Everything's going to work with everything. If you are, for some reason, a company that's using Microsoft 365 for the Word, Excel, Exchange stuff, whatever, but you want to use Anthropic, you're going to be able to do that, right? Instead of using Microsoft 365.
I usually
Copilot.
see Claude in the coding context. I haven't seen it in any other context, but I guess it hasn't been an option, right?
Right. I didn't put this in the notes, and actually I didn't write this up either, but yesterday or the other day, their Cloud Code product is now available in the web, interestingly. So you don't have to install anything. But the other thing they're doing with this connector, and I don't know if this is there today or if it's coming soon, is what they're describing as enterprise search, which is the dream, which is the point of the Microsoft Graph, right? That Jeffrey Snover helped invent or did invent, I don't know, or worked on anyway.
A part of.
And the idea there is that any enterprise, Microsoft space or otherwise, but you've got this, you're a company, you've grown up over time, you've tried different things, used different things. And now you have all these data silos, right? So in the Microsoft space, you might have stuff in SharePoint, OneDrive. You're going to have emails up in Exchange/Outlook. You're going to have Teams, which has conversations and maybe things that could be, like meeting summaries that are useful. And the goal here, of course, just as it was before we were talking about ML or AI with the Microsoft Graph, was we're going to break down those walls to some degree with enterprise control, right? Where you, with the appropriate permissions, would be able to essentially now what you do is write a prompt or whatever, or you ask a question, and you don't really have to know like how your organization is structured, where your data is, but you're like, I need to know, the people with these skills, or I want to write a report about this topic. This is a product we've been working on for several years. There's probably like a team in Teams that's talking about it. There's probably a data store in SharePoint or OneDrive where their files are stored, et cetera. It will be able to reach into all those places, right? So this is another fairly common and useful, right, capability that's going to be kind of hitting across the board there. I'm trying to think of how to say this without being super sarcastic. It's not possible, so I'll just be myself. I can't think of a place where I want Copilot or AI less than my TV.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Large language models on your TV. Hooray.
Yeah. This is a thing that is running a processor that's slower than the thing that went to the moon on the original moon lander. And it's the apps that are on it are already out of date or whatever. But I guess if it's probably running through the cloud anyway. But so some time ago, I don't remember when that was, a couple months back, whatever, Microsoft announced that, Microsoft announced that, and Samsung, sorry, that Copilot was coming to their newer smart TVs. And Copilot just came up for me, of course, because they keep saying the C word.
You keep saying it.
Please go away.
Saying the C word.
Go away. I wish I could.
It's also coming to the older TVs. It initially said 2025 TVs, and I realized, and I thought, I've dodged a bullet, but
and then it's like, we can go back.
Yeah, they're going back.
These things are like Tizen based.
Roku announced this too, by the way. They're adding it to the Roku remote.
Everybody needs AI.
I'm going to make one case for this in a second, but now Samsung has announced that Perplexity is coming to their smart TVs as well.
Nice.
And it will coexist,
finally,
as they say, with Bixby. That
great
assistant we've all forgotten completely about. I know.
God.
Coexist.
Both those Bixby users are going to be so excited.
I know. Does it work with smart things? No one's ever heard of that. Shut up. So
you have to install it to put pictures on your Samsung frame.
Exactly.
It's so depressing.
And you have to let us continue to listen to everything you do and connect online, or nothing. Your TV will not boot anymore. Yeah, it's going to be horrible. But so the only case I'll try to make for this is Samsung, right? So Samsung is pretty big in the smart home stuff. Joking about smart things or whatever, but you could make a case that a TV, if you're using the TV, like in other words, if you're an Apple guy, you're probably using an Apple TV. It does this. If you're a Google guy, you could have a Google TV streamer. It's a Thread and Matter controller or hub or whatever. Like you can control your smart home from this device. Fine. Mm-hmm. I guess you could make a case, Samsung ecosystem maybe, or just Samsung TV, whatever. That could be a hub for this stuff. And AI is actually maybe not a horrible way to interact with it because of that natural language thing. I think creating, what's the term in AI? Like you have a routine or whatever, is maybe a bridge too far for a lot of normal consumers.
Yeah.
But you might be able to say, hey, we're going to watch a movie, dim the lights, close the blinds, whatever you say, just tuck, 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 and it just does it, maybe. or, maybe using it to generate images. I don't know what you're using it for. I don't know. But like that's the one case I think I'd be like, okay, maybe that must be why they're doing it. Must be.
Yeah. You'd hope.
I've already talked about it more than I ever wanted to think about it. And I just want a screen that turns on when I press a power button, which
Now that's crazy talk.
Which I don't have. Yeah, I don't even have that.
No, they don't even do that, do they?
I don't have that. I can't even wait for it to boot up. I don't get anything. Opera Neon is, kind of dribbling out to people. This is a paid product, which is kind of interesting. And it's shipped originally with 3 agents, AI agents, and is now soon going to get a 4th. And this one has it's kind of a stupid name, frankly. It's called ODRA, O-D-R-A, which stands for Opera Deep Research Agent. Yep.
All right.
The other agents had good names. Chat, Do, Make. This one is just like, I don't know, Do 2.0, Do Advanced. I don't know why it has to have such a stupid name. But anyway, it's going to work exactly like agents work. I mean, we'll see. It's not there today. You can't test it right now, but it's going to be coming out soon. They do provide a kind of a cool chart about, there's a deep research benchmark test. Which I'm sure is totally accurate. They score above OpenAI and just like a hair below Google Gemini, whatever the latest 2.5 Pro deep research model, whatever it's called. I'm scanning this list. I don't see a Microsoft logo in there. I don't know. Maybe it's fell off the side of the chart. I don't know. But it's supposed to be pretty good, I guess, is the point. So we'll see. We don't have it yet.
All right.
It's coming soon. It's not such a threat, It's coming soon.
It's coming soon. You won't see it coming. It's just going to hit you out of nowhere.
Exactly. Right. It's
like
going to be quiet. It's going to be dark,
to the skull.
and you're not going to expect it, and that's when it's coming. Yep. Sorry. So anyway, that's it. That's all I have for AI. I'm trying to keep that short now because if I literally talked about every single thing that happened this week, we would.
You had all the AI stuff in Windows as well, right?
We'll be right back with more in a moment, but first a word from our sponsor. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Framer. Let me ask you a question. Are you still jumping between tools just to update your website? You got design, you got the content management system, you've got CSS, you got HTML. How about if you could do it all in one thing? Framer unifies design, CMS, and publishing on one canvas. No handoff, no hassle, everything you need to design and publish in one place. Framer already built the fastest way to publish beautiful, production-ready websites, and it's now redefining how we design for the web with the recent launch of Design Pages, a free canvas-based design tool. Framer is more than a site builder. It's a true all-in-one design platform. From social assets to campaign visuals to vectors and icons, all the way to a live site, Framer is where ideas go live, start to finish. Framer is a free, did I say free? Yes, I did. Free, full-feature design tool. Think unlimited projects, unlimited pages, unlimited collaborators, and all the essentials. You get vectors, you get 3D transforms, gradients, wireframes, everything you need to design, totally free. Wow. Framer is your entire workflow in one place. No Figma imports, no messy HTML. It's faster, it's cleaner, it's more efficient. Design more than websites. Framer lets you create social assets, campaign visuals, icons, even site resources, all inside the tool. No switching back and forth. Framer stands above the others because it's not just a site builder. Framer is a true design tool that also publishes professional, production-ready sites. If I were a better designer, I've been using Framer and I love it. It just makes me realize, but fortunately they have a lot of designs ready to roll. I know my limitations, but Framer makes it easy. Ready to design, iterate, and publish all in one tool. Start creating for free at framer.com/design. Oh, and if you use the code WW, get a free month of Framer Pro. That's framer.com/design. And use the promo code WW. Framer.com/design, promo code WW. Rules and restrictions may apply. I think you'll be very impressed. I was. Framer.com/design. www.framer.com/design. And don't forget the promo code because that helps us. WW. Thank you, Framer. Now we can talk about the world's number 3 gaming platform. Apparently, it's Nintendo, Take-Two, and then Microsoft.
As a game publisher, though, I'm just meaning game publisher.
Nintendo.
I don't think Nintendo's the top
You
game
don't?
publisher.
Oh,
No,
maybe
Sony's number one by
Sony's
far.
number one.
Sony?
Okay, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
I was misinformed.
yeah. Sony, Tencent, Microsoft,
That
Sony,
makes sense.
Sony,
And Tencent is mobile mostly.
Sony and
so.
Nintendo both sell hardware too. I mean, I just mean pure game, like just games.
Publishers.
Yeah. I don't know. It's they're up there. They're one of
the top
one of the ones.
few.
billion here, a billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money.
Real money.
Yeah. Imagine how profitable this business would be.
We've got so many overlaps between the different categories today. There was AI in Windows 11. There was
You got Xbox in my peanut butter. Yeah,
it's all over the place.
It's everywhere.
You got me your peanut butter and my chocolate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the Asus ROG Xbox Ally devices are out. That happened late last week, I think. So there's the normal version, the X, which is better specs. They both have 7-inch screens. I wouldn't even consider getting the low end one personally, although the high end one is $1,000. I am old, so when I use the Legion Go 2, the Lenovo device, which is very similar but slightly bigger screen, 8 inches. I can't. I mean, I try. I'm all I'm doing is harming my KD ratio here because there's like a sniper in the background is like literally like a pixel, and it's on. I can't.
I don't know why I go down the hand.
You ever go see like a jeweler thing, like the magnifying glass?
Yeah,
like
you're not that guy.
Yeah.
Stop playing the handhelds. You need a 43-inch 4K screen at 100 DPI to play.
Look, I'm 16-inch laptop is great. Is there a 16-inch tablet?
No, it'd be something.
But that's me. I mean, I'm aging out of this market. It's not that these things are fine, but I guess this thing is doing pretty well. But it's sold out, initially, whatever that means. But Sarah Bond is the president of Xbox, and she's been involved in a couple of controversies already because that's what this job is now. And so she's going on tour and talking to the press and is talking about the future a little bit, right? Because this is their thing. And she told Mashable that there will be a next-gen console. And she described it as very premium and high-end curated experience. You're starting to see some of the thinking we have for that product in the handheld. But I don't want to give it all away. But I do. And I think... So, I mean, first of all, I think this Xbox app thing that's on Windows is basically the UI. It's essentially the Xbox dashboard that's on console today, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going PC. I mean, I think this is pretty obvious, right? Like we've talked about this. The only little wild card asterisk out there is whether or not they can do ARM.
Yeah. Xbox
That might
game
be a
on
problem.
ARM.
That might be a problem.
We'll
see. They do have an ongoing partnership with AMD for the graphics, as does Sony. Like we talked about some of the bizarre announcement last week, which will be one for the ages. But we'll see. But anyway, I read this and I think to myself, okay, very premium, interesting. I think what she's cautioning here in a way is that this thing's going to cost like $1,000.
That would just get you one of those ROG allies, wouldn't it? They're
but
pushing
this
that
is
kind of
something you
price.
can stick in your look. The Ally thing is a problem because you can bring that anywhere. What you want is a device that only works in one room in one house, ever, and that's what a console is, right? So, some people still want these things, and I get that. There are definitely certain advantages of a console around, simplicity of UI, et cetera, But honestly, the big one, and I don't see how they can't bring this to Windows, but it's the app updating thing. So if you don't mind destroying the planet by leaving your Xbox on all the time, it will download these app updates in the background, and the next time you go to play a game, you can play a game. That's what a concept. When I do this on the PC,
the good old, I turn on my Xbox, I walk away for 2 hours while all the updates happen.
Which by the way is what you can do on a PC as well. Because if like I pretty much play Call of Duty, but I experiment with other stuff. But when I launch Call of Duty on a laptop, I I can't say I actually genuflect, but I do a little silent prayer that it's just going to run the game and I'm going to be able to play. But oftentimes, I'd say 1 out of every 3 times maybe.
250
there's an app update. And that's the question. So the other day, there was an app update. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Come on. I have like an hour here. Like, this is going to fill up the whole hour. And it was like 1.8 gigabytes. And I was like, nice. But then sometimes it's 200, you know?
Yeah.
You just don't. Most times it is, I would say, actually.
Time for all new art.
So that's something that needs to come to Windows. Like this is a very real need, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, I would say the experience is kind of simple enough, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I guess I could get like a ROG Ally or the Legion Pro and just like, put it on a big screen or something. Because I'm an idiot. I don't know.
You need
I'm
a
not
big
going to do
screen,
that.
man.
I know big screens are good.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the whole immersive thing, speakers or headphones and whatever. But anyway, so the Ally stuff seems like that's going pretty good. It's not going to save the platform. This is not where Xbox makes sense for hardware, but I think this is part of that vision for Xbox. You're going to play it on any screen, right? And this is another.
But they
screen.
have $1,000 unit. They do. They have a premium.
Well, they just, so this year they've raised the price of the existing consoles, right? So these things are very expensive. You can right now, I think, spend, I want to say it's $900 on one of the Xbox Series X models, if I remember correctly. It's very expensive. It was outrageous when Sony came out with a $600 console. I mean, This is like the entry level now.
Yeah.
So I do wonder, it's almost like psychologically, you're going to have this expensive device that the biggest fans are going to buy. Begrudgingly, maybe at this point, but they will, right? Some number of them will. But for most people, they look at that and they're like, well, okay, that's too much. What else do you have? And it will be a PC or something. So, like it's...
Yeah, you'll get more value from it. Because there's also people who bought that PS5 Pro. Like, that thing's not cheap either. Right.
And I'm not sure... Look, that's honestly in the console space a best case scenario, but it's probably still... negligibly different for many games. Like, what did I just spend all this money on? It's probably not necessarily worth it. It's not like there have been big advances in graphics technology over the past 2 years or whatever. Like, what are we charging all this money for? It's kind of, it's hard to say. So we don't know what it looks like yet. We'll see. But I sort of view that comment about this, how'd she say it? Just enjoy the construction sound.
Nice.
The very premium.
Very premium.
It's like saying very, very. It's like it's redundant, but
that it implies there's a slightly premium.
Right. You could spend less and have a pretty good experience, and I think that's the point. And I think it's like Xbox Game Pass Ultimate now. When it went to $30, it's like you're telling people not to buy this thing. You actually, it might be better for you, Microsoft, if they did something else, right? Even though it's cheaper.
Because $1,000 consoles and $30 subscriptions. Yeah.
Right. So imagine
who
if
could afford a game.
Well, what if part of it was you get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for a year or something, right? Like that, we'll see.
All right.
I don't know.
Then what? You return the machine?
Yeah, I'm making this up, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. And then today as well, Microsoft announced a bunch of new games coming to Game Pass across PC, console, and cloud. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is in there.
That's a phenomenal game.
That's with Game Pass Premium.
And it's a Game Pass Premium. Okay, that's
only.
Legit.
So that's day and date, right? Well, what that means to me is actually it was already available on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right? Because that still has day and date. So some of the stuff is just, we have a new tier. So now we're
trickling down.
Yeah. But don't worry, if you have Ultimate, you get Power Wash Simulator 2.
Thank goodness. But only for Ultimate because it's that good.
The other big one is a new game coming out next week on, what is that, Tuesday probably? Wednesday, next Wednesday, Outer Worlds 2 is coming to Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass on October 29th. Just curious how they break this down. Anyway, bunch of stuff there. And then this one will impact nobody, and I don't want to make too big of a deal out of this, but right after they raised the price of the consoles, Microsoft also has another piece of Xbox hardware that no one ever sees because we're not developers, but there's an Xbox developer kit. And this thing typically costs up to $2,000, or I'm sorry, about $1,500. And it looks like an Xbox One S for some reason. That might be an old photo. Maybe it doesn't look like that anymore. I have no idea. But they're raising the price of that by 33% as well to $2,000. But if you're a developer, I mean, unless you're an indie developer and you're really scrapping by, maybe that could be a problem. But
if you're an indie developer, you're not building an Xbox game.
This is super exclusive too. You can't just go buy one. You have to present a proposal about the game you're going to make, and they'll decide
I don't
whether
even
or
know
not
why this is public. This is only the big vendors buying them anyway. You could have emailed them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not like it's not like a what do you call it, the Vision Pro or whatever. Like you can't just go buy it, or HoloLens, because you could buy a HoloLens if you wanted to spend money. You could buy a HoloLens, but this is not how it's not.
I want one because it says has the FPS on the front and it looks cool. It's white.
I like the FPS on the front.
Yeah,
I want the FPS. I always want FPS on. This is
yeah. Wouldn't that be nice to know? And you could do that on a lot of games on the PC.
Yeah, you can do it with the game bar, but it's not always. And you can pin it so it's always on the screen.
Oh,
but it's not always reliable for some reason. I'd like to just have that on all the time.
It's expensive, $2,000. That's a lot.
Yep. Yeah, it's expensive. But you're making a game for a console.
It's nothing for a developer, of course. Yeah, for a big.
Well, the developer's not paying for it. His house is paying for it, and they're not buying one of them. They're buying 100 of them.
Right.
I know that's the thing. They're probably buying a bunch of them. So,
and I bet you they're not paying retail either.
Right. I would hope not.
So again, I'm wondering, why is this out here?
Why even bother?
Well, someone leaked this to somebody, but it's just whatever. That's what I meant. Like, I don't want to make too big of a deal about this, honestly. I really don't think it's a big deal, but it's just, the timing is tough. Whatever, but it's okay. It's okay.
All right.
Okay. Now, I'm thinking this would be a nice time to pause as we prepare for what I laughingly call the back of the book. And for those of you who never got a computer magazine in the mail,
who are those people?
Which is probably most of you, you'd have, the cover story, which have a nice picture of a PC on it, and you'd have various reviews and stuff, and you'd keep going. Pretty soon, though, you'd get to the kind of the final few pages. And that's where they'd stick people like John C. Dvorak.
Well, between all the ads that were like the final 50 pages.
And like what looked like classified ads for stuff,
Right.
Games that came in Ziploc bags and that kind of thing. So I think of it as kind of to me, it was always the first place I'd turn in the computer.
I was literally going to say that. I'm curious where this is going, but yeah, we'd go right to the back.
That's where the X-ray glasses live. That's where you go. You want to,
right.
You want to get that whoopee cushion before it's too late.
Dear God.
So what I'm telling you is our X-ray glasses and whoopee cushion segment is coming up next. Stay tuned.
Nice. The sand getting kicked in the face of a geek comic in the back.
Yep.
Charles Atlas.
Well, memories. We gray hairs, we really know how to live. In our minds in the past.
We've forgotten how to live, but we did. Yeah. We used to.
We used to know how to live. Now it's all tips of the week, which is coming up next. Mm-hmm. But first, and of course, a memory of a wonderful brown liquor that everyone should have tried once in their life. Would you agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to go look at what it is.
Wants to see if he's tried it. Our show today brought to you by our good friends at OutSystems. I can't remember if I've talked about OutSystems before. They're the leading AI-powered application and agent development platform. And they've been doing this for a while, more than 20 years. The mission, they were really kind of one of the original low-code houses, right? The mission of OutSystems is to give every company the power to innovate through software. And for years, you remember this build versus buy conundrum, right? That any IT department would have two choices when it came to software for the dedicated for the enterprise. You'd either buy off the shelf SaaS products, that's fast, but you lose flexibility, differentiation. So that's buy, or you could build. You could build custom software at great expense and time. And by the way, we've done both. We've done both at Twit. And I have to say, it was always a fork in the road I dreaded because there really wasn't a good answer. But now there's a new way, a third way. Build, buy. No, what about a middle road? AI, forging the way for another path. It's the fusion of AI, low code, and DevSecOps automation into a single development platform, and that's OutSystems. Your team will build custom applications with AI agents as easily as buying generic, off-the-shelf sameware. But what's nice about OutSystems is flexibility, security, and scalability come standard. With AI-powered low-code, teams can build custom, future-proof applications as fast as they could buy them, except that they are exact fits for what you need. And what's great about OutSystems, they come with fully automated architecture, security, integrations. This is all built in, data flows, permissions. OutSystems gives you the backbone for everything you need in a reliable, rock-steady enterprise app. But the beauty of this is OutSystems is the last platform you need to buy because you can use it to build anything and customize and extend your core systems. Isn't that great? A solution, the build versus buy conundrum. OutSystems, build your future with OutSystems. Visit outsystems.com/twit to learn more. That's outsystems.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly. I think we should now go to the whoopee cushion segment of our show.
Yep.
With Paul Thurrott and his tip of the week. Paul?
Whoopee cushion. I don't have any whoopee cushion app picks, but one of the, I review dozens of laptops each year, and one of the really nice reversals that's occurred over the past, I guess it's several years now, a couple of years anyway, is the return of repairable and upgradable laptops. And it's not 100% universal, but every laptop I reviewed this past year, this Legion Go 2 might be an exception. I'm actually not even sure about that one. But, and this is true whether they're consumer or business class laptops, whatever, is user serviceable to some degree. The one weird holdout here is often RAM. For some reason, RAM is still often soldered on somewhere, whether it's part of the chip package or just on the board, and you don't see additional DIMM slots for some reason. Sometimes you do, but they're unusual. Even that little Lenovo Snapdragon PC I have doesn't offer any RAM expansion whatsoever, which I don't quite understand. But I recently reviewed a very low-end HP OmniBook 5 laptop, Snapdragon X, lowest end processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and 256 gigs of storage, which I kind of knew when I bought it was going to be a problem. But the only issue I had with this laptop literally was the storage. I ran out of storage space like almost immediately. And so I was kind of futzing around trying to figure that out. And then I realized I could just replace the SSD, So I wrote something about doing that, and I bought a terabyte SSD. It's just an M2 slot, right? Normal, like standard part. I eventually had to buy a little USB device to put the SSD in, so I could have both SSDs in the same computer at the same time, so I could image the first one to the second one, which I technically didn't have to do, but I probably will still clean install it at some point. But this took about 30 minutes and maybe only that long because I was taking pictures and stuff. But, 4 screws, unscrew the thing, just connect the batteries, kill yourself. There was a kind of I don't know what it's called, like a cover, like a metal cover over the SSD. I didn't screw that, pop the thing out, pop the new one in, pop it back together. I didn't pop the bottom back on until I made sure it booted, but I sat it on top of it. Worked the first time, super easy. I don't remember for this particular laptop, but I want to say the battery, the SSD, probably the Wi-Fi module, which is also an M2 card, but a smaller one. And maybe that's it. I don't remember. But those are all user serviceable, meaning like any customer can do it. You don't violate the warranty. You just do it. And then they also document how you can replace the whole thing. You can replace the screen. The whole thing is replaceable, obviously. I mean, the circuit board, whatever. But I'm really super happy about this. Like I'm probably going to do more of this kind of thing now. I love that you can do this with a laptop. So,
because we started out going the other way, right? The whole thing about getting an Ultrabook was getting rid of all the sockets to reduce
everything
the
was glued in.
So everything that we did was to make thinner, lighter devices, right?
Right, so trying to make them more Mac Air-like.
Right. So you take the DIMM slots take up vertical space, yes, and space on the board, et cetera. So you get rid of that. You could have these really tiny chips that are the same thing, just RAM, but smaller. The storage was integrated for a long time as well, like meaning soldered right on the board. So, an M2 card is of whatever size. It's not huge, but it's a size. You can do that storage smaller right on the board as well. And then you couldn't get into these things, So if you had to replace the battery or whatever, you'd have to go to a service center and they'd have to do it, and we all remember the stories about like the glue gun stuff with the Alcantara Surface laptops and stuff, and how they literally had to like rip the thing off and you had to replace the whole bottom part, like just to do that. It was stupid. So this is just, I don't know if it's the right to repair laws that are, have taken effect around the world, or, I don't know, just consumer demand. I'm not sure what drove this, but it's wonderful. And
I think they were pushed to be as lean and smooth and tight as Mac Airs, and then now they're realizing people don't care that much, and they hate giving up the flexibility.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, I think most machines are never upgraded, right? But
100%. Like, but this is the thing. This is the same argument with like alternative app stores and mobile. Yeah, 99% of people are not going to use those things.
Yeah.
But for the people who want that, wonderful. So anyway, I was super happy with how well this went, because I am pretty clumsy. So, but that worked out pretty good. So it was good. It worked out great. It was
Do you think framework influenced this?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. Yep. And, framework doesn't want to think about it this way, but if framework is successful as an initiative, it will disappear because everyone will be doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not the outcome they want. I mean, that's not the outcome I want.
Well, and even with framework, I debate how many people actually buy a new motherboard for their chassis.
Never.
Well, even before framework, you could buy an Intel NUC and you could buy it as a completed little machine, right? You have a keyboard, mouse, and a screen, or you get a kit. So you get the body with the little circuit board. You can add RAM and storage, and you could do expansions and things if that's what you wanted. You could go to town with that thing, right? And I always thought that was an awesome little computer. I've owned probably 4 NUCs at this point. I mean, they're gone. I mean, Asus makes them now, but it's good. Like, you could build like Richard a couple of weeks ago, right, or a month ago, whatever, built a computer, like a desktop computer. Mm-hmm. It's quite an undertaking. I've done that with my son most recently, and then when he brought it home from college, we had to redo it. But that's its own little can of worms. But like taking something that you bought in a box that's sealed and you use, and you're like, this thing is good, but I would like this one little, and being able to fix that thing, that's neat, especially on like a laptop. You just wouldn't expect it. It's good. And I won't spend too much time on most of these things because I have several kind of app picks here, but kind of a grab bag, if you will. Just something that happened this week. So I did a couple of things that kind of led into these other things. So, for example, I installed the Epic Game Store on a Snapdragon laptop because I wanted to see if some of the lower end, like kind of indie type games would work well on that platform, and they do. So Epic Game Store. In
emulation or actually ARM?
No, they're almost certainly emulation.
Yeah. But they're old enough games that they aren't asking for the machine.
So I'm going to mention one specifically. It's actually brand new, but it's a lower end title, if that makes sense. It's not Call of Duty. Right. It's like a little side scroller thing. But
right.
Epic Game Store, if you don't know, gives away at least 2 games every month. Sorry, for the PC. One of those 2 is there are 2 available now. One of those 2 is called Samarost 3. That name doesn't mean anything to me, but it is as soon as I saw the game, I'm like, this is that company. It's the company that made Machinarium or whatever. Machinarium.
Oh, that was a fun game. I like that.
It looks a lot like it. It's the same style where you have a little guy on the screen and the screen shifts over and it's the next scene and solve puzzles and stuff. You can get that for free right now. It runs great on Snapdragon, just saying. So that's good. I downloaded the beta version of 1Password because it works with Windows 11 now with its new third-party password support.
Ooh,
and so
passkey support.
Passkey. Sorry. So if you can pass your passkeys, if you will, and your passwords obviously through this. I'm going to call this, it's like an identity manager, but a password manager, as they call it. Mm-hmm. And you can do it at the system level. So when you get a Windows hello kind of a prompt like, hey, do you want to save this passkey? Instead of saving it to Windows, it will save it to 1Password, which gives it portability, right? Because if you use password on multiple devices, the passkey
should be able to take those keys with you.
Which is what you want. You don't want it stuck on that one Windows 11 computer. I installed Zorin OS 18 last week, which is the latest version of this kind of Windows-like, consumer-friendly Linux distribution. I usually use Rufus to make installation media, especially Windows. And if you have Windows on ARM, you have to use Rufus because the Microsoft tool does not work with ARM. Go figure. But it works fine for Windows. It's always very good. I couldn't get it to work for this one for some reason. I've used it. I'm pretty sure I've used it, Rufus with Linux. But this is an app everyone's probably heard of called Balena Etcher.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
All one word, which works fine. Works great.
I use it for making ESP32 hardware.
Say again?
ESP32, little SOC devices for home
right.
and stuff like that. You use Balena Etcher for loading those.
Yeah, I guess I think you could use it to make like a bootable SD
Is it
card,
better
so
than Rufus somehow?
No, if you're a Windows user, Rufus is actually better because you get the options in there to change, get rid of the
Rufus is great
stuff.
for Windows. It's when you get into the odds and ends and
I use Balena on
for Linux. It seems to
Linux,
work more reliable for me. I can't. It's hard to. I have one laptop that won't boot off USB, and it took me a while to realize it was the laptop. So then I switched to Balena Etcher, and then it still wouldn't boot, and I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Okay, maybe
but it's the laptop. And for whatever it's worth, Zoran, those guys last week when Windows 10 went out of support, asterisk, were promoting their Linux distribution as an alternative. And I have to say, this thing works great. It works really great. And you have to pay for the Pro version, which is only $35 to get all of their different layouts, because you can make this thing look like Windows 11 if that's what you want. You can make it look like all these other versions of Linux, like Elementary and Ubuntu is one, etc. But it also has these things built in for Google integration. So you get Google Drive integration in the file system, and then email, calendar, contacts in Evolution. Same thing with Microsoft, although the OneDrive integration, unless I'm missing something, I think is only Microsoft 365 commercial. I couldn't get it to work with the consumer account, but you can do the mail and that stuff through there if you want. There's an app that will, you can do this in your browser, but there's an app that makes basically any web page like an app, essentially, which works pretty well, honestly. Although, again, you can also do a Windows app compatibility thing. So if you have like the installer for Microsoft Office, which I tried, it will say, all right, so it's like we can try this. We have a Windows app compatibility thing, which is Wine plus, I think it's called Bottles, that they do. Or you can use the thing we have that's built in, or there's another Linux app, in this case, like LibreOffice is pre-installed. Or you can use the web app version, right? So you got to get these choices. So they're intercepting essentially Windows EXEs, and then depending on what it is, trying to give you options, which I think is kind of interesting. It's not a bad approach. But the big thing to me was just that, with the exception of the fingerprint reader, right, which is, kind of a weird proprietary Windows Low type thing, it recognized every hardware component in this product, like in this laptop. Not this one here, but the one I put it on, which is like a 16-inch EliteBook, a couple of years old, including the discrete and integrated graphics, right? So the next thing I'm going to try is some of the gaming stuff and see how that goes. But you can right now right-click on an app, and one of the choices is literally run off of the integrated or dedicated GPU. Like you could actually choose that at runtime, which is kind of curious. But
their downloads like doubled.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's big. Yep.
Yeah.
It's big. I think a lot of it's just like graphic layout stuff. They do a pretty good job with that, honestly. But the core version's free. It's Linux, obviously. And it's like, because it's Linux, you can boot with that USB key and play with it and see if you want to actually install it.
Is it because it looks like Windows that people want to use?
Yeah. One of the things they're promoting is, it can look like Windows. It doesn't have to, by the way. But one of the default, in fact, I think it is the default theme or whatever it's called, layout is like basically Windows 10. It looks like Windows 10.
And it comes with Wine, so it can run a lot of Windows apps.
Yeah, I haven't. I when I left it to come in here to do the show, it was maybe trying to figure out how to make Office work with Wine. I don't think that's going to work, by the way. Everything I've read about that suggests newer versions of Office do not work. But I'm going to try. It's worth it. Anyway, it's pretty good.
Any Linux is a good Linux in my book.
Okay. I will just accept that at face value. It's probably true. I don't know. Probably. I don't know.
Well, I almost said it's better than
Could be
Windows
right,
in my book, but I thought, well, I don't want to be offensive on this show.
No, it's fine. You can be offensive. That's fine.
I actually am
expensive. It's what
thinking of replacing even my Macs with Linux at this point because I just
your Macs.
Yeah.
Is that harder on a Mac? It must be like Apple Silicon Macs.
Yeah, they're really Apple has
gotta be
some hardware advantages. It's kind of hard to.
Well, I mean, just
I wouldn't
from-
put Linux on my Mac. No, I'm just saying buy a like a Lenovo X Carbon.
Oh,
or
I'm
something.
sorry. I got you.
And
I know you
Linux
can run like Ubuntu. And,
yeah, you can. There are some
Parallels.
Linuxes, but I
You
don't.
do that. You can do that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm running. I'm running stuff in Parallels, but I don't know.
I think so. For whatever it's worth, I mean, going from Windows to the Mac, it's not a big deal. But you go from like whatever the keys are, Alt to Command, and just slightly different keystrokes, right? Copy paste are just different. Like it's a different kind of layout for your fingers.
Yeah, instead of Control, it's Command, which is weird.
Yeah, it's a different place on the keyboard. It's not a big deal. So I'm not presenting this as a major blocker, but Windows to Linux is the same. Like everything, and the other thing this thing does, like Windows key plus D, which is Show Desktop, that works in this thing. Windows key plus E brings up File Explorer in Zorin and brings up their Files app. Like they're
actually
they're
smart
greasing the wheel a little bit to make it easier for people.
They really positioned themselves as the alternative. Yeah, that's smart.
Yep, you don't get a lot of crap. You open the start menu. It's like, oh, it's just apps. That's weird. Remember what that was
Where's
like?
Where's
Not
Copilot?
an ad in sight. I'm so strange.
There's no AI built into this thing. There's no, I mean, it might be something interesting.
Yeah. It looks like, I mean, they have 3 versions. I mean, they're all free, but there are 3 versions: Pro, Core, and Education.
So the Pro has a bunch of
Pro
other
is
apps.
more for people with Windows, it seems like, because they have Windows 11
got
set up.
creative and productivity apps that aren't in the free version, whatever that means. I don't
The
even.
thing is, you can install those all so easily.
But it's the layouts. To me, it's the layouts. So,
it's
like,
the layouts,
if you love Windows 11 or something, or whatever it is, like you want it to look a certain way, you can spend the whole week just trying different UIs. You know, it's nice.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Paul. It is now Richard's turn with Run as Radio.
Yeah, bringing back one of my favorite people, Paula Janishevitz is a security expert. She's been running her own company out of Poland for forever, with offices in Dubai and the UK and a few other places. Huge team of folks, and she's the people that governments call when they've been hacked. As I've said on more than one occasion, do not let this woman anywhere near your computer. She's very, very good at what she does. And we ended up in sort of a casual conversation about careers and how she ended up in the particular niche that she's in, because cybersecurity is such a broad term. There's so many different ways to work in the cybersecurity space, and to be an ethical hacker, to be part of pen testing and to press against systems that way, it's like, what is it that makes you go there? And for her, it's that insatiable curiosity. Like, it was never enough to fix the problem. It was to track it all the way down and know exactly what the root cause was, what all the steps were, so that you can make sure it never happens again. And so that, that's the path we ended up going down, was just to sort of, hey, do you like this? You're interested in that? Look over here, evaluate these kinds of things. How much education you need, how much experience you need. Like, it's never simple. There's no real third-party qualifications that will make you an expert at anything. You have to have done some of the work and have some experience in the space. And that, as she did, she worked for a couple of companies, getting a feel for what was going on before she struck on her own and built her own team.
Nice.
And it's been very successful.
Unlike me and my switching. All right, now.
It's going well. It's all going very well.
Now, we take you from Norway to Scotland for our brown beverage pick of the week.
I've been drinking whiskey on and off all week, trying to take it easy. Nothing special, but I do have a party coming up on Friday where I know there's going to be a bunch of special whiskeys. So I'm holding on to those until I can actually taste them and take my notes, and then I'll tell you about them. But I have a couple already, I've been told, are coming. And so for this week, I ended up in a big conversation about peated whiskeys, and I realized I had never talked about Lefroy. And Lefroy, it's not... Lagavulin was part of the Classics malts, which was purely a marketing exercise in 1988 by Diageo, or what was then the United Distillers. Lefroy, in some ways, is even a more honest manifestation of an Islay malt, just because it's been around for forever. But they've kind of done the same thing the whole time. So Alexander Donald Johnston formed Lefroy in 1815, which is several years before the excise tax comes in, where there actually is a legal requirement for how you make whiskey. They had been working the land for many years before that, so there's every evidence that they were making booze the whole time. And they had a pair of stills. But, once the laws come into place, you have to kind of do the thing. And they were relatively successful. By 1836, Donald buys out his brother Alex, who goes off to do other things. And then horribly, this is one of the most dreadful stories I've ever heard, in 1847, Johnston falls into a vat of boiling pot ale, and it kills him.
Oh, God.
And suddenly, his family's lost the father. He's the master distiller. A guy by the name of Walter Graham, who worked at Lagavulin, literally down the road, stepped in and kept the distillery running until Donald's son, Dugald, was old enough to take over in 1857. And then when he passed away in 1877, his sister Isabella, who was married to a different Alexander Johnston, ran the distillery for a number of years, until finally the great-grandson of Donald Johnston joined in 1908. They started growing the distillery back then in the 20s, and then the grandson, Ian Hunter, took over in 1927 when his cousin passed away. Ian Hunter really put Lefroy on the map in a big way, and one of the things he did was he created an entity called D. Johnson and Company after his great-grandfather, the original Donald Johnston, to be the owner of the distillery, which is true till this day. The crazy part is that he had no heirs. He never had any children. And so he actually leaves the distillery to his secretary and also operator of the distillery when he was on the road, a lady named Bessie Williamson. And so she had it until it gets acquired by Shenley through a third-party company. And I mentioned Shenley just a few weeks ago because they were the folks behind the distillery known as Ancient Age, now known as Buffalo Trace. So American company in 1960 takes control of Lefroy, and they expand the distillery again. They do an interesting thing. They go to 5 stills, which is odd because normally we always have pairs of stills, right? A wash still and a spirit still. But in the case of Lefroy's process, their spirit phase is very slow. And so often one of the wash stills wasn't being used. And so it was actually Shenley that brought in an extra large spirit still to do the offset. And they've had an odd number of stills ever since. They have 7 stills today. That eventually gets sold to Allied Distillers, which will ultimately progress past that. In 1994, Prince Charles, now King Charles, who is known to the Scots as the Duke of Rothesay, because they don't use the English titles, they use the Scottish titles, granted a royal warrant to Lefroy. It's the only one Prince Charles ever granted because it is his favorite. And at the same time that they did that, the marketers at Lefroy, to take advantage of this, created this entity called the Friends of Lefroy. And you can still become a friend of Lefroy. It costs you a certain amount of money, and they grant you a square foot of land on the distillery grounds on the pretense that you lease it to them indefinitely. And their payment is a dram of Lefroy, but you have to collect it.
How big is a dram?
An ounce.
An ounce? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little bit. That's a tiny amount.
But you only can collect it if you go tour the distillery. So they're basically saying, you're going to be a friend of Lefroy? You should tour the distillery. We'll give you a drink.
Nice.
2005, the Allied Distillers was acquired by Beam, and in 2014, and we've talked about this before, Suntory takes over Beam, briefly becomes Beam Suntory, but now is known as Suntory Global. So that's the chain of ownership and how the company's gone. Let's talk a little bit about how they actually make whiskey. They own a huge, the battles in the 1800s over protecting their product meant they own a really large block of land on Islay, including their water source, which is the Kilbride Reservoir and down. The stream runs down to the distillery. This water is actually peaty. It runs through peat beds on the way down. And so there's lots of sediment in the water and so forth that needs to be filtered. They also cut all of their own peat for making their own malts, although they only make 20% of their own malt. The rest they have to buy because they simply don't have enough. But they still cut their own peat a meter at a time. They dry it out over months. They have storage spaces for it. It's primarily sphagnum, which is typical for Islay, plus the seaweed tastes and things like this. Same for their floor maltings. They still do floor maltings, which virtually nobody else does, but it's only 20% of their production. So they pull out 7 tons of grain, soak it in barrels in tanks over 3 days, then spread it out over concrete floors to germinate. They keep the room cool because if it gets too warm, the barley will go moldy. And so part of keeping that cool is to keep stirring it. In the old days, that would literally be men with shovels picking up and tossing it. And that's really to cool it down because the germination process generates a fair bit of heat. Today, they have electric shovelers that pick it up and toss it to do that as well. And after the 3 days, when it's sufficiently sprouted and those carbohydrates are more sugar, it's all pushed through grates down into the lower kilning rooms. Now, in the kilning rooms, they will do a separate stage of both adding peat flavor and drying the malt. So they do about a 12-hour peating, which just makes the whole space smoky, and then they dry it after that, and then send it through their own grist mills. Typically, it's 5.5 tons worth of grist that goes into a mash tun. These mash tuns are about 55,000 liters. They put in 63.5 degree water. And about 25 liters, flush it a couple of times. The leftover grain after that is sent off for cattle feed, and they're ready to go into these washbacks and start a fermentation. They use cream yeasts, and when it's completed, they have a very sweet, yeasty, and smoky beer at about 150 ppm for the peat, which is much higher than the finished product will actually be. And then off to what they call the Magnificent Seven, the 7 stills. That's 3 wash stills and 4 spirit stills, and with fairly short necks but inclined line arms, so there's lots of reflux. And like I said, they have a very slow, high distillate process, so the initial distillation's at 35%. They actually have a holding tank for the low wines because it takes time to load and run those spirit stills, and then they do this very slow spirit distillation, which is part of their flavor characteristics. They do no chill filtration. They use Maker's Mark's bourbon barrels because, of course, Maker's Mark also owned by Suntory, and they typically, these barrels, as they specify, after the Maker's Mark drained them, they actually let them sit for 3 months before they ship them out to Lefroy. Lefroy has their own cooperage on site that does maintenance and repairs on all the barrels, and then once they're filled, they are sent off to what they call the Big Sleep. They have 2 wooden warehouses, wood floors, walls, and ceilings, all horizontal racking, 3 barrels high, right beside the ocean. So always a sense of salt and the ocean air in every bit of Lefroy. And then their bottling is also done on site. So we're talking about the classic, the original, the fundamental product, the Lefroy 10. The one that Bonnie Prince Charles loves so much, with about 40 to 50 ppm for peat, which is considered very much a mild medium with a little bit of iodine flavor, seaweed, but also caramelly and sweet and smoky. This is a good drink. It's a sturdy peated whiskey. This is not the first peated whiskey you should drink. We've talked about some starter peats. This is, I want to drink a peated whiskey, and Lefroy's been around for more than 100 years, 150 years. It's a legit product at about $70 a bottle.
So that's, would you say this is like the default for people who want a peated?
When we talk about sort of the most famous peateds, most people would refer to Lagavulin. And again, that's mostly because of that Masters of Malt promotion in the 1980s, which United Distillers was sure the number one of those ones would be Cragmore. It ended up Lagavulin, and it really put peated back on the map in the 80s, which was a slow time for whiskey. But look, Lefroy is right there.
It's a classic.
It's such a classic.
And the 10, you think? They have older.
Yes, they absolutely do, and priced accordingly. I could go into the whole story of the quarter cask and so forth. They do some sherry caskings. Like, there's lots of variety, but we're talking about the fundamental. This is the core product, the 10. And like I said, it's been around forever. There are people who collect the variations on the bottle. Like, if they have the bottles from before it got the royal warrant, because after it did, they've all got warrant labels on them, which is kind of a big deal. Like, people collect because there's 150 years of bottles.
Yeah,
it's such a diversity. That's true for Lagavulin as well. But when you talk about other great peats, other great Islas, you're going to go to Bowmore, Bonahaben, Cowila, and then the really rares, the Port Charlottes, Port Ellens, things you just can't find anymore. But look, there's a ton of great distilleries on Isla. They use peat for the simple reason that that's what they've got. because it's hard to get coal out there to do their drying. And Lefroy has been Lefroy since the early 1800s.
Hasn't always been in those barrels, but it's something like them.
No.
Yeah.
It was Ian Hunter that really adopted the bourbon barrel even before World War II. He was pushing hard on bourbon barrels, so he was early to it.
The iconic Lefroy. Now I know how to pronounce it.
I was going to say.
So hey, I've been busy looking at my notes while I've been talking about this whiskey.
It's
You've
not
gone on with all the curvy boxes here, Leo.
I know. I just was messing around.
Very fancy. Very fancy. I feel very pilled at the moment.
You're in a pill. You're in a pill.
I like it.
Thank you,
Rounded
Richard.
rectangles. Nice.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going on here. I didn't do it. Okay.
Everything's fine. We're fine.
Don't. Leo's messing with the buttons again, folks. I'm sorry. I apologize. That is Richard Campbell. You'll find him at runisradio.com. Right now, you'll find him in Stavanger, Norway.
A few more days.
Where are you going next?
I'm off to Utrecht in Netherlands for
Love
next
that
week.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, Utrecht.
Love Utrecht.
So jealous.
It's great.
I haven't,
Great spot.
like I said, I haven't left the house in months.
Yeah.
The house. I'm not
If you
talking
were
about
going to leave, Utrecht would be not a horrible place to try.
I want to go to Utrecht. I bet you can get stroopwafel there to go with your
Oh, without a doubt. Yes.
Yep. Thank you, Richard. RunnersRadio.com.net Rocks is also there. The show he does with Carl Franklin. He joins us every week, and it is always a pleasure to have you on from all over the world. Paul Thurrott is in Mexico City in Roma Norte. He is, of course, also on the internet at thurrott.com. That's the place to go to read his great stuff, keep up on what's going on in the Microsoft world, and join if you want to be a premium member. There's a lot of great stuff behind the paywall, too. Thurrott.com. His books, The Field Guide to Windows 11, and Windows Everywhere, available at leanpub.com. We get together here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC, to talk Windows and Copilot. And
So next week, I'm going to do a series of tips on using apt-get.
okay, good. It's going to be the Linux show soon. Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, Jonathan Bennett from the Untitled Linux Show is joining you and me Friday, and Paris Martineau and Jacob Ward. Micah Sargent's our dungeon master, and we're going to do a
I'm going to
3-hour...
Leroy Jenkins the hell out of this game. It's going to be
good.
amazing.
Have you chosen your character yet?
No, I'm going to do that right now. I don't know why I haven't done it yet, but
Yeah.
If you're going to
I'm
Leroy
going to be like a
Jenkins, you better
stupid,
tank up.
like chaotic
Yeah,
good
you're
fighter.
going to have to be I think you're going to have to be a barbarian of some kind.
Yeah, it's going to be something
Tank up.
stupid. It's going to be good.
It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're a member of the club, it's a special Club Twit event, Dungeons and Dragons, with some of our favorite people. And you will be able to see that this Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, for 3 hours. So bring
I was
lunch.
tempted to join, but I am going to be talking to a user group that day.
Hey, I have a feeling we'll be doing this more than once.
Yeah, I'm looking. I hope so.
Paul's already got his copper goblet ready
There you
for
go.
the
No,
game.
he's
right.
ready.
I'm going to throw it right into the fire.
drinking
The sparks.
some
It's going to be good.
It'll be a lot of fun. If you're not a member of Club Twit, please join the club. We'd love to have you. It supports us. It supports the work we do here with Paul and Richard and everybody else. $10 a month, you get ad-free versions of the shows. You get access to the Club Twit Discord, a great hang. You get special programming. Find out more at twit.tv/clubtwit. A couple of things a little different there. If you haven't been to the website lately, there is a 2-week free trial. And there's a discount code for the holidays. So this would be a great time to gift Club Twit to a friend or family member. Find out more. I won't tell you the code. You got to go to twit.tv/clubtwit. Please join the club. We'd love to have you. We stream this show for the club in the Discord as we're doing it live on a Wednesday morning, but we also stream it on YouTube, Twitch, not TikTok anymore, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. The TikTok was complicated. We had every hour they would say, click a link and all this stuff. And it was just too complicated.
Oh, my God.
So we feel like 6 or 7 different locations is sufficient for most. Most
My
people
dream of being a TikTok star remains
It's over.
a dream. Yeah.
Well, we do put clips of you with your enormous head.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
On TikTok. So you get to see that.
Okay, so I probably have. I'm not sure there's a bunch of teenage girls super excited to see this content
Oh,
every
yeah.
day, whatever.
Oh, it's Paul again.
That guy.
He reminds me of my phys ed teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
You can download the show after the fact. That's the easiest way. It's what most people do. There are a number of places to go. twit.tv/WW is the website. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to Windows Weekly. Great for the video. Great for sharing little clips, too. And, of course, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client. Get it automatically the minute it's ready, which is usually just a couple hours after the show on Wednesday. We try to get the shows out, publish them as quickly as possible. Thank you, Kevin King, our producer and editor. If you do subscribe in a podcast client and that client allows you to leave reviews, please give us a good review. Share the 5+ stars and all that. Helps us spread the word about the show. We thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Richard. Safe travels. We'll see you all next week on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
I was doing screen tests before my session. They had the screen already switched over to my machine, so I always fire up like the wildlife camera, just show.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Various critters.
Do they love that?
They went wild for the black bear, which I didn't expect. I figured the Norwegians would be more chill about that.
There'd be plenty of black bears up there.
Not a thing, apparently. Yeah, not a thing. They got brown bears up in the mountains, and brown bears are really shy. They got polar bears. We only get to see one of them once. Then they just find pieces of your camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Good line. You can see a polar bear once.
Yeah, once.
Yeah.
Then you learn.
Once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, you should have run.
Are they that angry?
It's like parachuting.
They're pretty aggressive. Yeah, you don't want to mess with a polar bear, and it's just you are a snack. The seals they snag are bigger than you by far, right?
Right.
You're down in one swipe. You have no chance. There's none of this
snack.
climb a tree or play dead. It's like you're just an hors d'oeuvre while they move on to a.
No point in making yourself large and yelling at the top of your lungs.
Not going to work. 2,000 pounds of chewy indifference, right? He's just going to. It's like I'm going to have a fur seal after you because you don't even qualify as a salad.
Wow.